Wow. Usually a table back here. I don't care if you guys are doing that. Well, anyway. You guys. What I'm saying with that number here. There should be a number.
The doors are unlocked. I just close them and keep some of them things out.
I can't see that. Oh, what is that?
It's freezing.
That's a lot. I know, it's been really fine. I found mine. Have you met
Have you?
Sharon, do you want to send us? We here we are. Have one like here. I was like, I'll put it in. And I'm like, who's organizer? I'll ask him to
You want to keep you down so you get the fire? So you see that? And yeah.
How are you?
When and how this is
I understand. But then he has to go up there. No, I don't think I'd be right. No, well, but I thought on my phone, so I don't know. I think it's a lot.
Yeah, I did too. Well, yeah, she did get back to
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Where's our guy? I just went to grab.
I know.
There's so many best. Yeah. And it's like they show somewhere.
Wait.
Hanging in there.
They just let you go. Now I get to see your production. Always in. I mean, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love it. I have my That's what it's
Hi. Yeah. Nice to meet
Thing, yeah. We don't have. Also, we have to see.
All right. I'll call the whole car.
I'm sorry.
It took me a long time to read my first. Like you're.
It's kind of,
But the mic will be okay.
well, you know what I
Welcome everyone to our reconvening of open session for our February 20th, 2025 regularly scheduled school board meeting. It's 6:04 p.m. We will start off with a roll call. Stephanie Amon here. Bill Adams.
Here.
Rich Carnation.
Here.
Paul Corno.
Here.
Malina Lopez. Here. Kylie Hernandez. Here. And Zoe Furman-Kavich. Here. And the flag salute will be led by Rich Carnation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2.3 is report out of closed session, and we don't have anything to report. So I'll move on to item 3.1, which is adjustments to the agenda. We do have a few adjustments, so I'm going to just read the order of section 3, which is the area that we're adjusting. So 3.2 will be student board member reports. 3.3 will be the superintendent's report. 3.4 is the assistant superintendent's report. 3.5 is staff association reports. 3.6 is public comment, and 3.7 is Board of Trustees report. So we'll start off with our student board member reports. And while they get that going, I just want to check to make sure we don't have any other adjustments to the agenda. Okay, great.
All right, so we'll begin with Brooks Elementary. So some recent events was the award assembly, another award assembly for 3rd grade, a field trip to Toloy Lake and for 4th grade, and then some upcoming events is the Buddy Bench, donated by Windsor High Interact and Find a Friend. Maddie Washburn Elementary, some recent events was the 100th day school of school and dress like a 100-year-old, TK field trip to the fire station, and Jaggy Pride assemblies. And some upcoming events include Read Across America Week and Spring Break. For Kalikagmekan Language Academy, we have for some recent events the first core day, TK to 4th grade literacy night, free dress day, PT association meeting, Zumba, coffee with admin, and walk and roll to school.
So for Windsor Middle School, some recent events have been open house showcase, fun food bingo, a Valentine's Day Spirit Week, a Valentine's Day dance, and recently instead of the typical popularity-based court such as Kings and Queens, they had a kindness court. So you could elect students who you thought showed exemplary kindness. And some upcoming events, we have a color run. Big picture learning, for some recent events, they've had 2 Leaving to Learn field trips at the Pacific Coast Air Museum and at the Peking Acrobats, as well as an informational night. And some upcoming events, the Youth True Survey has closed, which means our student trustee empathy interviews will begin, and they're continuing their LTIs. Excuse me. So for some recent events, we've had 8th grade orientation, and then some winter sports. We've had Prince/King of the Mat, which is a wrestling tournament, and our varsity sports teams such as soccer, golf have had their qualifying sports matches. We're having officer elections. So first the elected positions will go, and then the appointed positions. And then we've also been working on our campus beautification, which includes the repainting of the senior steps, the steps and railings in the front of the school, and the W in front of the school. We'll also be planting flowers around that. And then for some upcoming events, we have our spring fling. So this is the first time we've had a spring fling at Windsor High School. We'll be rotating every year between the spring fling and the winter formal. So for a club update, we have a club carnival on February 21st. The Interact has donated a buddy bench to Brooks Elementary, which means that if a student is feeling lonely, they can sit at the bench and have another student accompany them. Best Buddies hosted a Special Olympics. S Club has put up human trafficking awareness signs in the town green just to raise awareness, and also donated Valentine's Day cards to an elderly shelter. There's also an upcoming Sexual Violence Awareness Week. And the Black Student Union has a Black History Awareness Week in honor of Black History Month, and also a bake sale to raise money for their next projects. And then Nueva is going to have a play at the Phantom Toll Booth on March 6th to March 8th. And the following week, it'll be opened up for younger students to come and enjoy.
Okay, thank you. All right, next is our superintendent's report.
All right, let's dive in. Start with some fall sports highlights. So Windsor High School boys basketball won an upset victory in overtime to move to the quarterfinals. Our girls basketball finished 5th in the NBL Oak League. Excuse me. Boys soccer ended the season with a 13-7-2 overall record and a 3rd place finish in the NBL Oak. Our girls soccer ended their season with a 9-4-5 overall record and 1st place in the NBL Oak at 8-1-1. And unfortunately, we lost last night in playoffs, but we played them tough. And our boys wrestling are the North Bay League's team champion. Male and female wrestlers are headed to the NCS this weekend. And we had what Rich, you should probably say is better than me, but the Jaguars had 9 champions out of the 14 weight classes.
Yeah, there's 14 weight classes. We had 10 in the final, so it was basically Windsor versus the rest of the entire league. And of those, 9 of them were champions. And the one that didn't quite make it actually slipped, and a kid, anyhow, could have had 10 out of 10.
Got lucky.
Yeah, the other kid was fortunate. So anyhow, they're heading all down, but I'll bring that up later in my report.
Understood. Also, it was already kind of mentioned, but Maddie Washburn celebrated the 100th day of school by dressing up as 100-year-olds. Pretty cute. And then preschool. So we've opened preschool enrollment for next year, and we have a lot of interest. In fact, we opened registration on Tuesday, and after the first day, we had 57 families fill out an application. And as of right now, today, we're up to 68 applicants. So on the right is kind of the nights where you can come and get information. So for Maddie Washburn, March 4th, 6 to 7. Cali, March 6th, 6 to 7. Then again, March 25th, 6 to 7 at Cali, and another one March 27th from 6 to 7. Those are information nights. In the bottom left, that is the preschool that is being built at Maddie Washburn. Well, kind of next door to Maddie Washburn at the park. We own half of the park. And so that's where we're hoping to house a lot of these preschoolers. Not right away, because it won't be done until a little bit after the start of school. Okay, and I thought I'd take this time to go through my update. So in February, based on our governance calendar, I usually give an update on my scorecard. And my scorecard is built upon the board goals, which are all up here. We call our board goals our Windsor Unified Pillars for Organizational Excellence. And we have 4 areas that we focused on: all students connected and thriving, all staff connected and thriving, strong family, community, and school relationships, and sound financial planning and decision making. I'm going to focus on the first 3 and not the sound financial planning at this time, because that's the easiest one to update mid-year. So why is there such a focus on data at the board meetings? Well, so I'm going to give you a quote, because I think it struck home for me. It's our collective and individual responsibility to preserve and tend to the environment in which we all live. So for school, what does that mean? It means we all have a collective responsibility for the success of our children, me included. And really the buck stops with me. So when we look at our data, I have goals that are district-wide goals that we review at the beginning of the year. that you guys approve for me, and then we try to monitor throughout the year to see if we're hitting the mark or not. And so why do we do this? Because data can highlight patterns in student performance. It can highlight areas that need improvement. And for the board specifically, one of your roles is to allocate resources. And this allows us to allocate resources based on whether we're doing well in certain areas or not in certain areas by using data versus assumptions, opinions, past experiences, whatever it may be. Instead, we look at data and try to make good decisions that are evidence-based. So one of the first areas for all staff connected and thriving, there are 2 different measures that you guys have approved as what matter. We call them our measures that matter. And the employee engagement survey got screwed up because we tried to transition to a different platform and it didn't work. So I don't have data for the employee engagement survey. I do have data for Youth Truth. And one of the areas that we've chosen is My School Creates a Positive Work Environment. And here's our data. So our goal is 80%, and we hit that at the middle and high school, which is fantastic. We've shown positive trends. We've actually shown positive trends at all of our levels, elementary, middle, and high. And then if you go down to school specific, you can see that Callie's at 73, Brooks is at 95% in terms of positive feedback. Maddie's at 43, Windsor Middle 85, Windsor High 80, and Big Picture Learning Windsor's 100. So obviously you look at this data and there are certain things that stand out. Maddie Washburn is at 43%. There are a million different reasons that could be, right? So our duty is to make sure that we do a deep dive into why staff are responding with, I receive, My School Creates a Positive Environment. That's the wrong one. It should say My School Creates a Positive Environment at the bottom, not I receive regular feedback. So we have a duty to do a deep dive into that and figure out what's going on there. We also have this area, strong family, community, and school relationships. So here we look at the number of interdistrict transfers in versus out. We look at Youth Truth for parents feeling that their child's in a safe learning environment. And then we also look at parents' responses centered around, I receive regular feedback about my child's progress. We want to have plus 200 with regard to interdistricts coming in versus out. And we want to make sure we're hitting 80% on the other 2 marks. And historically, well, I'll just go to the next slide. So historically, if you look at our interdistricts, we have run at a net negative in terms of in versus out. We are in minus 131 in 22-23, and this is an estimated number because we have a lot of competition with private schools. Private schools don't have to share their data with us, so we have to estimate based on their enrollment. And then last year, we were at minus 66, but much closer. We had a lot more interdistrict transfers in. And this year is the first year that I know of that we've been in the positive. This does not include Cali. This does not include Big Picture Learning Windsor or Sonoma County Virtual Academy. Those are magnet schools designed to bring students in. This is really just our traditional pathway. So we're up to 122 in the positive. And this was at the beginning of the year. This hasn't been updated since the beginning of the year. If you want to break that down, the majority of the students coming to us are in grades 6 through 12. In fact, 424 are in the secondary area, which is good for us because we have capacity in the secondary. We don't have a lot of capacity at TK through grade 5. We're running out of room. If you see the interdistrict transfers going out, the majority for TK5 go to Windsor Christian and Mark West and Westside. Westside's about 25 kids. Mark West is 160. And then you have Windsor Christian that makes up the difference. And we're completely guessing at Cardinal Newman that it's around 70. We used to have an insider there that would tell us how many, and it used to be around 80 or 85. We no longer have that person, so we're estimating because we have gotten quite a few kids back. And then my child's learning environment is safe. So if you're looking, we're hoping to be at 80% response positive from parents. We're not there yet. We are kind of going up and down. There's no real trends that are showing, but one thing that we did highlight is Cali. This is TK through grade 8. We had some weird data with Youth Truth, and that usually you break Cali up into elementary and middle, but we couldn't do that. So Cali I had to pull out separately, and Windsor Middle I had to pull out separately. But if you go down and look at Cali, you can see we thought maybe there was a trend. Maybe there's certain grade levels where parents aren't feeling safe for their kids. But it was a random second grade level at Cali. And so there could be any number of reasons why. We may have had very few parents respond, and maybe it was just the parents who were upset. It could have been that some event happened in second grade that I'm not aware of that caused families to feel this way. I don't know what the answer is, but what I would tell you is we have a duty to figure out that answer. Our youth truth data is fairly new. We just got it, so we haven't had a chance to look deep into a lot of these parts. But that stands out if you look at the data, right? That is 44%. So we've got to do some research there. And again, I come back to, this is just data. These are just numbers. We just have a duty to go and research and try to figure out what the issue was and attempt to solve that issue, because that's our collective responsibility. If you look at youth truth feedback, and I receive regular feedback about my child's progress, we have no trends. We're not trending positively, negatively. We're pretty stagnant. So this is an area that if this is going to be an important data point for the board, that I have to do a better job of finding a way to improve our data, because I haven't figured it out yet. So I've got to own this one. And then you get on to the other pillar, which is all students connected and thriving. And for this one, we look at youth truth results that has to do with feeling safe at school. And the questions change a little bit from our original, but I'll show you the language. And then we have our CASP results for language arts and math, which really, when we're monitoring throughout the year, we look at our RENSTAR results because that's predictive of CASP and it gives us information throughout the year. And then finally, we have our college and career readiness, which we're finding really hard to track because there are so many different ways to be deemed college and career ready. So we're looking at grades, we're looking at pathway completion. I have data for the first three. I don't have an updated slide for college and career readiness. But Principal Buckman did go over some of the things in her scorecard presentation. I think it was last month. Yeah. So when you're looking at middle school, we want less than 10% of our students to say that they're not feeling safe at school. And unfortunately, that's not the case. We're at 26%, and it's increasing 20, 24 to 26 over the past 3 years. So I did a little bit of a deeper dive into that and broke it out by demographic, or ethnicity, I should say. And what was interesting, and something we definitely need to spend more time on, is the largest percentage was our African-American population. 39% of our African-American population who responded to this survey are stating that they don't feel safe at school. What makes that even more interesting is at the high school, it's the same results. So at the high school, we stayed at 8% not feeling safe. Our goal is 5%. And it raised to 11% this year. This survey was given in January. And again, 17%, the highest percentage of students not feeling safe at school are African-American students. So once again, this is a trend. This is something that we definitely need to look into and figure out what's going on here and come up with a plan to solve it. If you look at our ELA results, so this is STAR. It's what we use. It's a national test. I think Brian's going to talk a little bit more about it. So when you look at STAR, this kind of shows the progress that we're making in each grade level. -1 is kindergarten. They just call it -1 for the report. And then 1 is first grade, 2 is second grade, so on and so forth. So the blue is fall and the red is winter. And so we're monitoring our students making growth. And we're trying to see our students making growth over time. That's what we want, right? Because our goal is 70% of our students are at grade level or meeting the standards, meaning where the state has deemed they should be. We're not there. Interestingly enough, I don't often look at the 12th grade data because we test for the state in 11th grade. But our 12th graders for ELA have hit that 70% based on RENSTAR, which I had never seen until recently. And we're pretty close once you get to 11th grade. We're over 63% roughly. It was 59% in the fall and then made growth 63%. So we can do this. Now, what this shows is in kindergarten, first and second grade, it gets progressively harder in every grade, right? But there are big jumps at the early levels in terms of first you're just saying, is that an A? Right? And then you're saying, can you sound out a word that has 3 letters in it? Then you're going on to passages and doing reading comprehension. So what this is showing to me is as the test gets progressively harder, our students aren't able to keep up. So this becomes an area of focus for us as a district and me, and I'm going to share some ideas after this slide for what we could do. But we have to focus on the fact that as this test gets progressively harder, our students are not keeping up, they're not tracking. And we've got to provide some support to look at our program delivery. And again, I'm going to go back. I know why everybody's here, right? We all do. This is a collective responsibility. This falls to me. It's my responsibility to solve things like this and to work with my staff to make sure that we're providing the right resources and the right systems so that we can support our kids to be successful. Math is all over the place. We don't have a trend. So, I mean, you can see a trend in this one. You can't see a trend in math where some grade levels are doing well, some are not. Some made a lot of growth, some did not. We've got a lot of work to do here in math. Students are struggling. So once again, we need to look at our entire program, TK, well, I should say K with this data, K through 11, and figure out we're not hitting the mark here. And nobody in the state is really hitting the mark, but that doesn't matter because we're not going to accept that. We've got to hit the mark. So looking at this data, we've been working on a concept for some time now and trying to figure out how to pull it off. And we're going to evolve our approach to student support by building a comprehensive, inclusive model that ensures all students, and keyword all, receive the services they need while optimizing our resources. And board, you're in charge of resources, right? So we're going to try to optimize our resources and improve our efficiency so our students can be more successful because we're not seeing the success that we want specifically. And it looks like our students at Maddie Washburn need some more support. So we started with this, core beliefs. I'm going to read them because I think they're important. Our current practices are not serving the needs of our students as evidenced by some of our scores in math and ELA based on RenStar and our CASP. Learning gaps happen when students are pulled out of their classroom during core instruction. All struggling students, regardless of whether or not they have an IEP, which is special education designation, can benefit from receiving targeted differentiated intervention in the regular classroom. Small group instruction centers, which is smaller groups within one classroom, allows for more targeted intervention to occur. More adults in a classroom help to manage student behavior. And all students can learn at high levels when given the proper instruction for their learning style and support when they struggle. This is important because everything that I'm going to follow up with was built upon these core beliefs. Oh, my picture got messed up, of course, in Successville, population everyone. So here's the unified support model. We want all students to spend as much time in the regular classroom as possible. So especially for first instruction, meaning we often would pull students out to get first instruction with certain teachers, or they may get pulled out to receive intervention. We want that intervention to happen inside of the classroom because we believe that all students benefit from individualized support in the classroom without the stigma of being pulled out for services. Also, we think that all students, regardless of their needs, should have access to the same high quality instruction. And we know that our classroom teachers are the best at delivering high quality instruction. So what are we going to do? Well, here's what it looks like. We're formalizing this plan. We're sharing it tonight in that we want to change our classroom support structure. We want to hire a site-specific instructional coach at Maddie Washburn who provides ongoing training for teachers and instructional aides, none of which that we have for first and second grade right now. But if you remember the trend, we're struggling in some of those areas to support our students. This would ensure consistent, high-quality support. Furthermore, we're going to add aides for all classrooms. We already have them for TK and K. We're also proposing to add them to first and second grade, 5.5 hours daily instructional aid support, so that we can do a number of things. We can reduce the adult to student ratio from right now, it's 24-1. We can reduce that to 12-1, which allows us to provide more targeted intervention and allows us to run centers, which is very difficult when you don't have another adult in the room to help you. TK, we're already at 1-to-10 ratio. We have 2 adults to 20 children. That's required by law. And in kindergarten, we have aides, but they're only in there for a shorter amount of time than 5.5 hours because they're shared for other duties. And we're going to modify that to make sure that we shift their time so that 5.5 hours of their time is spent in kindergarten. On top of that, we're going to provide professional development to our instructional assistants, 8 to 12 hours at the beginning of the year. This will be a joint effort between the instructional coach and our director of curriculum and instruction and assessment. In year one, we've tried to start scaffolding this out. Year one would be child development, classroom management, introduction to differentiated instruction, and supporting students with disabilities. Year two would be advanced topics in classroom management, trauma-informed practices, and cultural competency. But beyond that, with this model and being 5.5 hours, there can be times throughout the year or the week where we can pull these instructional aides for, let's say, an hour, and they can get some targeted professional development from the instructional coach, because that instructional coach lives at the site. So all of this to say is, your job, board, is to look at data and to target areas that we're not performing. And my job is to own those areas and to make sure that if we're not performing in certain areas, that we have a plan to address those shortcomings, if you will. And so this is an attempt at trying to provide more support and resources so that we can improve some of the outcomes that we were seeing. Are there any questions?
I don't see any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is our Assistant Superintendent's report.
Good evening, board. So we wanted to provide a little bit of context about the purpose of the universal screeners, where they came from, and why we do them. So when we met with our LCAP core committee this year and created our goals, we went with the pillars, and goal number 1, all students are connected and thriving. And specifically, we set a goal that through pre-K through 3rd grade, that we would focus on literacy and math support with that goal of 70% meeting or exceeding. And at that point, we made the decision to put the stake in the ground and say we have to start at the beginning. The only way that we're going to see success throughout all of the grades moving through is that if they have a strong foundation. So years and years and years and years ago, we started with iReady. That had a lot of issues. In particular, it took way too long to get the assessment done, and it didn't have it in Spanish. So Callie was using Renaissance, which is what we use now. So we pivoted the whole district so everyone is using RenStar. It's still a rocky start last year. It was the Wild Wild West. We let every school pick their own screening windows. Each school chose how many windows they wanted to have. Different schools gave different assessments. There was no consistency between early literacy and reading with the 1st and 2nd grade students. And then ultimately, the data we got last year from RenStar did not produce meaningful results. Hopefully this year we fixed it. So what are we screening for? Well, it's very specific when we're talking about early literacy skills. In kindergarten, we're looking for that phonemic awareness, letter recognition, fluency, phonics, vocabulary, and comprehension. Similar in 1st grade with phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and basic reading comprehension. And then moving into 2nd grade, we have phonics, fluency, vocabulary, reading comprehension, and then a huge shift. We started looking at informational text, and in 3rd grade and beyond, it is fluency, vocabulary, reading comprehension, text analysis, and then a heavy emphasis on critical thinking. So to give you an idea of what students would be expected with an early literacy passage compared to an actual 3rd grade CASP release question. So that could be described as something that might be expected at the end of the 1st grade year to the end of the 3rd grade year. So as you can see, these teachers have a major lift between moving a kid from being a 6-year-old to an 8-year-old. And so I do have a statement that I want to read, and I want to address my comment from the last board meeting. I know it affected many of you. Some of you felt disrespected, unheard, and unappreciated. Others felt sadness, anger, and humiliation. For that, I sincerely apologize. I know that in just a few minutes, many of you will come up to this podium and express those feelings and tell me and everyone here exactly how you feel, and that's okay. If my words gave that impression, I take responsibility for that. That was never my intent, and I regret that my comment derailed the conversation, because instead of focusing on our students and their reading ability, we're now debating whether or not I support teachers. No matter what is here and said, no matter what is said here tonight, The most important thing hasn't changed. We are here to ensure that every student in this district learns how to read. Windsor Unified District Administration shares the responsibility for our students' success, especially when it comes to something as critical as literacy. Our teachers share our belief that every child deserves the opportunity to develop essential reading skills. Administrators and teachers must come together, reflect, and take action to ensure that we provide the necessary curriculum, coaching, and feedback to give every student, TK through 12, the best possible education. When it's all said and done, I hope we can shift the conversation back to where it belongs, to our students. And I want to finish by talking about in terms of what we are calling our shared responsibility. And that is the professional development that we've done so far this year, and to let everyone know what the professional development that we have planned for the remaining of the year. So we started off the year on September 6th. We brought in Dr. Luis Cruz, and he did a major kickoff explaining for the whole district the purpose of the professional learning community work and building off the work of our guiding coalition from last year. Then on November 1st, Annette Zucconi came in and gave us a great professional development on curriculum mapping, and then she has been working with grade level teams since then to move the work along. And then on April 11th, we have a professional development geared towards common formative assessments. So secondary teachers will receive a 3-hour training in the morning, and primary teachers will receive a similar training in the afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Next, we have staff association reports. We start with WDA if you have a report.
Susanna Pfeffer, WDEA President. At this time, WDEA does not have an association report. However, we would like to accept Brian's apology. Thank you. We appreciate it very much. And I'm sure my colleagues would agree with me on a personal level that we do share this important responsibility. It's an awesome, humbling responsibility to educate the children of Windsor in literacy and numeracy. Thank you.
Thank you. CSEA.
Hi there. Good evening, Board. I'm Sheila Womack, Chapter 673 for CSEA. I do have a report, actually. I'm Vice President of CSEA, but I am standing here today for Ross, actually. He suffered a pretty big cardiac event last Monday, February 10th, playing video games with his son, and he doesn't remember anything after that, but his 27-year-old son gave him CPR for a good 20 minutes, and he was without a pulse for 20 minutes. And during that CPR, his lung was punctured and 3 broken ribs, but he did it right and he saved his life. So he is doing well. It's a miracle. He is actually doing well. He went home yesterday. He has a defibrillator, but while he is out, at least for the next 6 months, I'll be stepping up as president or de facto president. So I'll be coming here and speaking on behalf. So that is my report for CSEA. And we're pretty excited about the jobs that Superintendent Decker brought up for the instructional aides. Our people are. And I just pushed it through today to CSEA to 6 tenants so we can bring it back to our members for a vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sheila, please pass our best wishes to Ross.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're moving on to public comment on non-agenda items. I'm going to read some things so that there are many of us here and I want to make sure we all know what we need to do. So any person may address the board on any consent action item or item not listed on the agenda. Pursuant to the Brown Act, during this period, the board is not allowed to consider these issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. We ask that public comment be spoken into the microphone from the podium. And in accordance with one of our board policies, individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. We have these timers that we're going to try to use, and we'll try to keep track of time that way so that we don't have to interrupt if anyone reaches the 3-minute mark. And then the board shall limit the total time for public input on each topic on each item to 20 minutes. So on the Maddie Washburn topic, there will be a total of 20 minutes for comment on that item. Okay.
You can't, no, it's not.
What we'd like to do,
You can't do that. You can't just say 20 minutes is 20 minutes. That's a violation. If there are more parents that are willing to speak, or any staff member that are willing to speak on the issue, you have to hear it.
well, let me read the rest. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation, depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. So why don't we start with public comment on non-agenda items that are not related to Maddie Washburn, so that we can address those first, and then we'll turn it over to the other topic. Please approach the podium.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erika Garcia, and I will read first in Spanish and later on English. I may take a little bit more of 3 minutes. Muy buenas tardes a todos los miembros de la mesa directiva del Distrito Escolar Unificado de Windsor y a todos los presentes. Mi nombre es Erika García y estoy aquí una vez más para abogar por nuestros estudiantes latinos, para que sean apoyados y protegidos como grupo vulnerable por las más recientes políticas antiinmigrantes, aunque todos sabemos que no son nuevas. En el pasado también abogué junto a otros padres de familia por espacios seguros en las escuelas de Windsor. Justo en la pasada campaña presidencial del actual presidente, construyan las bardas, cuando también desató su odio a nuestras comunidades migrantes e incitó a sus seguidores a delatar migrantes y a perseguir a las personas que nos apoyaban. Recuerdo que también hicimos marchas y estudiantes de la secundaria y de la preparatoria salieron de sus salones de clases para protestar a esas políticas peligrosas y llenas de odio, incluyendo nuestra Windsor High School. Yo estuve ahí, apoyando y caminando con mi hijo mayor. Fueron varias las juntas de la mesa directiva para lograr una declaración de espacios seguros en nuestras escuelas en ese tiempo. Y con asombro, veo nuevamente esa persecución y ese odio. Esto no solo afecta a mi familia, sino a las de mis amigos y a los conocidos y a nuestras comunidades en general, a sus propias familias y amigos, a las economías locales y a la salud pública en general. ¿Cuándo sonó la alarma entre los padres latinos? Con la primera carta enviada a las familias del distrito escolar el 27 de enero de este año. Empieza con, queridas familias, sabemos que muchas personas están preocupadas por los cambios recientes, etc. Nada más importante para nosotros que la seguridad y la educación de nuestra comunidad de estudiantes, etc. Pero lo que más preocupó a la mayoría de las personas fue el punto donde dice: mientras hay algunas acciones legales que después podemos tomar, por ahora, tal vez, no podemos impedir que agentes de ICE entren a las escuelas. Ciertamente dan algunas explicaciones de lo que por ahora las escuelas pueden hacer, pero al no agregar más información de recursos disponibles al momento, y que sí los hay, y las medidas específicas que por ahora sí se pueden tomar, lo único que lograron en nuestras familias migrantes fue el pánico. Perdón, se me movió la hoja. Y eso habla de la falta de empatía. Y el mensaje recibido por la comunidad latina fue: por el momento no podemos proteger a sus hijos. Organícense en casa y en familia por si la migra llega a sus casas o escuelas. Porque la carta parece ser o estar dirigida a las familias que sí entienden los términos legales citados en el comunicado y que en su mayoría no son nuestras familias latinas.
Excuse me, ma'am. This has been blinking red for a little bit. You know, this is kind of new. The town council does it. So green is good, yellow means you got 30 seconds, and then red means your 3 minutes is expired.
Yeah, but maybe it will take if you want to hit it on English.
Yes, we want to hear it in English. In
English. Thank you.
Maybe can somebody else in the group read it in English?
I can do it.
I know you can. Basically, everybody's supposed to be 3 minutes is what it is.
I'll read it for you in English.
Okay, thank you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, so I will take my remaining minutes. Recordemos que durante los años de pandemia, mientras las clases privilegiadas o con más oportunidades estaban trabajando en casa o tenían acceso a recursos del Estado, nosotros teníamos que seguir trabajando en los viñedos para que ustedes pudieran disfrutar de sus vinos, en los campos para que pudiera haber comida en su mesa, en los restaurantes para que la comida pudiera llegar a sus casas. ¿Y qué decir de los hospitales, donde llegaron enfermos normales y por COVID, si nosotros manejábamos todos esos desechos? La misión de esta mesa directiva del Distrito Escolar de Windsor solo está estipulado, y cito, nuestra misión es apoyar a cada estudiante en alcanzar su potencial completo, priorizando la seguridad y equidad y excelencia de nuestras decisiones. Pues con el corazón en la mano y con la justicia en la mano les pido, luchen y protejan a esos estudiantes, niñas, niños, niñas, estudiantes del Distrito Escolar de Windsor, con todas las herramientas legales y humanas, no solo por lo que les sea posible, sino más allá. Así como nosotros estamos en las calles luchando por los derechos de todos y de las diversidades, de nuestra comunidad latina y grupos vulnerables, y compartan y organicen talleres sobre derechos de los inmigrantes para nuestros estudiantes, nuestros maestros, y qué hacer y cómo organizarnos como comunidad, por el bien de todos y por las comunidades fuertes y saludables. Unidos, sí se puede.
Okay, I'm Kelly Lister. I'm going to read the translation. My name is Erica Garcia. I have two sons who were born in Windsor and spent their entirety of their school careers in Windsor Unified School District. My oldest is a Windsor High School graduate, class of 2019. My youngest graduate, class of 2024. Today, I'm here once again to advocate for our Latino students, not only to show support, but because we need to ensure they are supported and protected as they are vulnerable in light of the recent anti-immigrant policies. However, we all know these policies are not new. In the past, I also rallied alongside other parents for safe spaces in Windsor schools during Trump's last presidential campaign. The Build the Wall. This same rhetoric fueled this hatred toward our immigrant communities and incited his followers to report immigrants and persecute those who supported us. I remember the protests where high school students walked out to stand against these dangerous, hateful policies, including students from Windsor High School. I recall the numerous board meetings we attended to urge our board to declare our schools safe havens. This issue affects not only our families, but also our friends, our communities, and the overall well-being of our society. When did the alarm bells first ring for the Latino families in the school district? The initial letter was sent to families on January 27th. It begins with the statement, "Dear families, we know many people are concerned. Nothing is more important to us than the safety and education of our children." However, what troubled most people was the part that states, "While there are some legal actions we can later take, for now we may not be able to stop ICE agents from entering our schools." That provides explanation of what schools can do for now. The lack of more information on available resources only created chaos and fear among our Latino families. This reflects the notable lack of empathy. Why do I say that? The letter seems aimed at families who comprehend the legal terms mentioned in the statement. Many of us, the parents of those students, work in fields, restaurants, cleaning, other jobs that the vast majority overlook. These jobs have continued throughout wildfires, pandemics, raids, and more. Let's remember that during the pandemic, while privileged individuals or those with more resources worked from home, access state assistance, we had to keep working in the fields so everyone could have food on the table, or in the wineries so that you could enjoy the wines, and in restaurants and grocery stores so that food could be delivered to our homes. We cleaned your houses and bathrooms with face masks on so that you could have been clean and disinfected spaces. What about the hospitals where normal and COVID patients arrived? We managed all that waste, then returned home, cleaned ourselves, prepared meals, and ensured our children could participate in distance learning. And then everyone realized that we were essential workers, but now we are just disposable families. I'm going to just skip to the very end here. Just as we are in the streets fighting for the rights of everyone, for diversity, for our Latino community and vulnerable groups, you should fight too. Share and organize various workshops on rights for immigrants, for students, what to do, how to organize ourselves as a community for the good of all, and a healthy and strong community. United we can. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up.
Hello. So we are students with Windsor High School, Nueva School for the Arts.
Come a little closer and also introduce
Hello.
yourself. So that we know who we're talking
Hello.
to.
So we are students with the Nueva School for the Arts, and we are here to invite you to our production of The Phantom Toll Booth.
Yes, so we are planning this production. We're opening on March 6th. We have shows March 6th, March 7th, March 8th at 6 p.m. and then Sunday, March 9th at 2 p.m. We're making this for all ages, so feel free to invite children and invite families to come. And we are very excited, and we have some posters here if anyone would like to hang them up in places of work or such, if you are.
Can you name the name of the production? I wasn't able to hear.
The Phantom Toll Booth,
The Phantom Toll Booth.
based
Okay,
on
thank
a
you.
children's book.
Thank you.
Are those posters for us?
Yes, if you would like.
Yeah, please bring them over.
Could one of you share with the group, I think our student trustees mentioned the following week after you open, you're going to have student performances at the high school where our littles will come over. What days are those planned for?
Yes, we have, I'm not sure the exact dates that we're doing them.
Currently, we have one day scheduled. If anyone wants to come on Wednesday around 10:30, just send me an email.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes, thank you.
On the flyer, it only has 4 dates. I thought you said more, but it is just 4.
There's four for public, and then you can email Mr. John Richards if you are a teacher and you would like to bring your class to see the performance on a school day.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Good evening, President Ahmad, members of the board and district office staff, and fellow community members. My name is Rebecca Rocha. I am a resident of Windsor. I have a daughter who attends Windsor High School. I have another daughter with a disability who's no longer attending Windsor schools. I'm here again representing the group of parents who came to the last board meetings in November and December to request that you consider discussing the discipline, including suspensions of students with disabilities on a board agenda. At the last meeting, we were told that there would be a meeting scheduled in the spring. We eagerly await the date of the special study session or board meeting. Rather than provide us with a presentation of current supports offered to students, I'm asking that you develop a special protocol to ensure that the civil rights of students with disabilities are not being violated. We have shared with you stories who are suspended for up to 5 days at a time, sent home with no instructional program, then wait at home up for weeks, up to 5 months to await a non-public school or a SCO placement. We want a protocol that outlines that you will stop this practice and you will exhaust all options of support before sending our children to a non-public school. In order to keep the board apprised of how many students this is happening to, I would like to request that you develop a special dashboard that outlines your suspension of students with this moderate, severe disabilities and/or intense behavioral issues like ADHD, so that someone is monitoring the situation. The board has no idea how many students this is happening to because it's not being treated as an expulsion, even though it essentially is. Mr. Carnation, Ms. Ahmad, and Mr. Adams, you all expressed deep concern about the drop in test scores of a particular grade level at the last board meeting. While I didn't agree with the manner in which you communicated your disappointment, I am requesting the same level of concerns for students with disabilities. You were clearly outraged that typical second grade students did not show improvements on one computerized standardized test, yet you had no response when we shared emotional stories of what has happened to students with disabilities in Windsor. We look forward to returning for a special study session to create change in how you will promise to treat students with disabilities and behavioral challenges in Windsor. WUSD is spending $140,000 per month to send students in Windsor to non-public schools, and that doesn't include SCO placements. Imagine the money you would be saving if you could keep some of those students in Windsor. You have to see the connection between how you are treating our children and how much it is costing you in the long run. That impacts all the general education students. Please care about our kids, because it takes away services like reading intervention, which could be helping the second graders. Thank you for your time. We look forward to a scheduled time to discuss this important topic with you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Megan Knight. I stand before you again today. I was also here in November, not just as a parent, but as an advocate for all of the neurodivergent children and families who have suffered under the leadership of the Windsor Unified School District Special Education Department, and in my case specifically, Patricia Chadwick at Maddie Washburn Elementary and Crystal High. I want to speak directly to this board about a grave issue that continues to affect our community: the systemic failures and profound trauma caused to our children and their families. Let me remind you of your mission statement as stated on the district's website. The Windsor Unified School District Board of Trustees is dedicated to fostering an environment where every student can achieve academic excellence and personal growth in a safe and supportive setting. The term every student also includes children with disabilities. Yet far too many families are finding their children neglected and mistreated within this district, and it's not okay. Back in November, we asked for a special study session to address these issues, specifically to look beyond presentations about services and to examine the injustices that so many families face. Let's examine the outside contracts, which I presume our board approved, and why are they not working? Let's look at the leadership in place. Why are parents having to advocate so hard to keep the school district in compliance? I'm asking this board to stop and truly consider the trauma caused by this system. Do you know what it's like to walk in the shoes of a parent with a child who's neurodivergent? Do you feel the weight of the struggles every day? If you did, the issue would resonate with you as much as test scores or any other metric. The failures my family has endured are not isolated. I've spoken to countless families in similar positions, and there's a clear pattern of dismissive and insensitive behavior from your chosen leadership. Our children are not just names in a file, they're individuals, and they deserve compassion, professionalism, and respect. I urge you to understand the gravity of this issue. I stand here today because I want future families to have a better experience than we did. I don't want to continue hearing about children lost in a system that is unreasonably difficult to navigate. Our children deserve a system that works for them, not against them. The district is spending substantial resources to relocate these students to specialized programs. I ask you to take this issue seriously, to investigate and to listen to the families affected and make necessary changes. It's time for the district to fulfill its legal obligation and ensure that every student receives the education and support they deserve. I would like to end with Adriana, the social emotional counselor, is an absolutely amazing employee, and I hope that you guys keep her for the long term. She is the only person that I would trust with my child at Maddie Washburn Elementary. And I would like to also report that my child is thriving and having literally almost none of the issues that we had at Windsor in his new placement. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Do we have any other public comments on non-agenda items not related to Maddie Washburn? Okay, then we'll start this section. We'll set a 20-minute timer. The board will take a poll at the end of 20 minutes, and if there's still more to say, we'll take a poll and decide whether we're going to extend past that. So you can go ahead.
Good evening, members of the school board, parents, teachers, and community members. My name is Christy Selby. I've been a parent in this district since my oldest daughter started TK at Maddie Washburn in 2017. I'm also the current president of the Maddie Brooks PTA. And I stand here as a voice for our educators, our students, and the values that bind us together as a school community. I want to begin by acknowledging the deep frustration and disappointment that many parents and teachers have expressed in response to the recent remarks made by members of this board. These comments, which have been widely perceived as disparaging toward our teachers, have not only caused hurt, but have also undermined the trust and respect that are essential for a thriving educational environment. Our teachers are the backbone of this district. They are the ones who show up every day, often early in the morning and long after the final bell rings, to nurture, inspire, and educate our children. They do this not for recognition or accolades, but because they are deeply committed to shaping the future of our students. They take on countless roles: educators, mentors, counselors, and cheerleaders, and sometimes even second parents. To disparage their dedication is not just unfair, it's harmful to the very fabric of our schools. When negative remarks about teachers are made by those in leadership positions, it sends a message that their hard work and sacrifices are not valued. It discourages morale among educators, makes it hard to attract and retain high-quality teachers, and creates unnecessary division between parents and staff. These remarks distract from our shared mission, providing the best possible education for every child in this district. Tonight, I urge this board to reflect on its role as leaders in this community. Leadership is not just about making decisions, it's about setting an example, it's about fostering collaboration, showing respect for all stakeholders, and building bridges where there may be divides. I ask this board and the assistant superintendent to acknowledge their behavior towards our teachers last month and move forward with a renewed commitment to supporting our teachers. That means recognizing their contributions publicly, listening to their concerns thoughtfully, and ensuring they have the resources they need to succeed in their classrooms. When we uplift our teachers, we uplift our students, and that benefits everyone. To my fellow parents, I know how much we all care about our children's education. I hope we can channel our frustration into action by advocating for policies that empower both students and teachers. To the school board, I ask you to remember why you chose to serve in this capacity. Let's work together to heal these divisions and create an environment where respect is mutual and progress is possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
All right. Oh, no. Okay. Hello. For those of you that don't know me, but probably have heard of me, my name is Callie Lombardi, and I'm a second grade teacher at Maddie Washburn. I've been teaching at Maddie for 13 years. It is the only school I've ever taught at. My husband was born and raised in Windsor, and we went through the Windsor school. He went through the Windsor schools. We also have 2 daughters who are flourishing in the district. A huge part of that being because of the teachers they have had. They have all been amazing. They have challenged them, helped them grow, and loved them as their own. These teachers are the heart of the district, and it is very hard not to take it personal when we hear comments coming from a group of people about a job that several of you have never done. Teaching 24 or more kids with different academic, social, and behavioral needs is the job that we all signed up for. We understand that. In the last meeting as board, you spoke down upon a specific grade level, but your judgment, sarcasm, and unprofessionalism is being directed at the entire teaching community, which is an interesting strategy coming from administrators and a school board that have far less experience in a classroom than most of the teachers you're currently passing judgment on. This is not the way to support and promote a district. As I said, I've been teaching in this district for 13 years, and in that time, not once has any board member been in my classroom. So to be totally honest, the judgments from a board that has no experience in the area is hard to swallow. It's the opinions of these parents here tonight that have come to support us and the colleagues that are here. That's whose opinion means a lot. I understand that you all have a job to do, and that job is to direct the district as a whole in the right direction, not point fingers at a small group of hard-working professionals that are doing everything in their power to educate and better the lives of every student that passes through their doors, and doing so with limited support or guidance from anyone above us. It's become very clear to many of us that a majority of you on the board have already made up your minds about us teachers. The unfortunate truth is that you formed this decision from only half-truths and misinformation. This is largely in part to the people passing along that information. It has been driven by egos and grudges held against any teacher that is willing to stand up for themselves or others. Some facts that have been overlooked are that 2 years ago, second grade saw the highest rise in RenStar scores across our district, second through 12th grade. The last 2 teachers of the year from Maddie were both second grade teachers. Last, our team serves on multiple committees at Maddie, such as leadership, union, site council, and PTA, all of which are positions we are asked for our opinion and advice, and we are now being ridiculed for it. What's truly fascinating about all of this is the district's plan to solve this problem has nothing to do with improving student scores or addressing the performance of the teachers they view as subpar. Instead, there's been a rumor circulating about breaking up the second grade team. Well, last Friday, that rumor became a reality when I personally was informed that I was being moved. Not just to a different grade at Maddie, but to another school within the district. While the district has the right to move teachers, in my 13 years here, it has been incredibly rare for someone to be uprooted without requesting it. The reason I was given is that I'm a strong teacher and that I need to work under a stronger administrator. However, the timing of all this seems coincidence. It seems convenient that after a certain administrator at the last meeting spoke about our principal covering for us, along with a board member referring to us as the fly in the punch, and another member resorting to social media to make comments along the same line. The rumor now is that more of us will be moved, and it's starting to feel like the administration's goal is to break up a team because they fight for a present and supportive admin and who stand up for the teachers they work with every day, whether it's in their own grade level or not. As a teacher and a parent in this district, I feel the focus of the district has shifted away from what really matters, the kids. I'm up here speaking for myself and my team, and I can assure you that we will all be in our classrooms tomorrow and every day thereafter, working our butts off for the betterment of every student. As to the members of the board and anyone that's in front of me, our doors are always open for you to come in and see the work that we're putting in, but I have a feeling that you probably won't be there, but I sincerely hope so. Thank you to all that have come to support us. We really appreciate everyone.
Thank you, Kelly.
My name's Jenna Schmidt, and I have 2 children at Maddie Washburn. I'd like to address the blatant attack on our second grade teachers at the last board meeting. These accusations are not only inaccurate and cruel, but do not represent the true dedication of these stellar individuals. Here are the facts. These are COVID kids. They didn't get the experience of preschool and many social interactions before they entered school. While these eager students should have been given basic fundamental knowledge, instead they experienced multiple extreme challenges. For example, one kindergarten class had upwards of 10 various substitute teachers who quit because of toxic administration and finally dispersed into the remaining 6 classes. Due to the lack of teacher stability and school leadership, the students with educational challenges were passed over or neglected. Principal gone before the end of school year. First grade, parents had high hopes that this grade would be a vast improvement over what had happened in kindergarten. While the majority of first grade teachers were excellent and prepared, my son's teacher was severely lacking. Parents raised major red flags to administration, while the new principal remained completely unresponsive and would not meet or communicate with us in any manner. This teacher left her position mid-year. Parents and students were thrilled when highly qualified individual whom was competent and well-liked was placed in the position. However, after 30 days, she was replaced without communication from administration with a long-term sub who was ill-prepared, and the students weren't taught critical grade-level skills for basic success. The students with educational challenges were again passed over and did not get the testing or services that they needed. This year, I wasn't concerned of whom my child would get as a teacher, since all displayed stability, professionalism, and excellence. The second grade team has been the only group to stay with our students in the entirety of a school year. All students with learning challenges are finally getting addressed and being helped. Please keep our second grade staff whole. A transfer of any of these stellar group of teachers would undo the stability and strength that has been the hallmark of this grade level for many years. However, the lack of leadership, outreach, and communication from the administration has been the continued of this outstanding lackluster during our 3 short years at Maddie. When we parents have voiced our concerns, we are stonewalled and ignored. It's not the open door policy that we were promised. I look to you, our school board, to address not our teacher problem, but our leadership problem. Our principal is not engaged in the daily workings of the school and is rarely seen on campus. However, our dean has proven her hands-on, resourceful, proactive services of our staff, student, and community alike, while her position is being dissolved next school year. Do better. Do better by our kids, please.
Thank you, Jenna.
Hi, my name is Lingiana Minico, and this is my first grade team and husband. I have worked in the district for 20 years. Writing these words has been a serious challenge. I fear retribution, as that is already happening here on our campus. Teachers are being moved, and our highly rated dean has been let go for next year. However, it is important to speak up for what I believe is right and to support my hardworking coworkers against misinformation being fed to the board. I intend no malice towards individuals, but rather honesty and openness. The district has spent years trying to talk teachers into being open and friendly with data. It is here to help guide us. It isn't to be used against educators to embarrass us. At a previous board meeting, those spreading that word weaponized data against a team of people they are mad at and want to embarrass. They did the exact opposite of what they have been preaching, and the data was not even valid. The fact that our principal stood there and said nothing to defend the second grade teachers and their scores was extremely disappointing. Allow me to share some insights. A great many of those second grade teachers had brand new teachers in kindergarten if they were lucky. Many had no teachers, multiple teachers, long-term substitute teachers. Maddie was having a hard time getting teachers to stay in kindergarten, which greatly affected student academic and behavioral progress. The staff reached out over and over for behavioral support, as our principal is often off campus. Finally, mid-year, the school was allowed to hire a real student advisor. The following year, we were authorized to have, if not a vice principal, at least a dean, and she's been fabulous. Those kindergartners went to first grade last year. Brian had our STARS reading scores from the end of kindergarten sent to us so we could start tracking progress. It showed only one of my students at grade level. That year, I felt I was failing my students and families, especially my many language learners. Besides the academics, there were serious behavior issues. If I was the administrator and I saw a class like that and an experienced and enthusiastic teacher calling for help, I would get involved and start asking questions. Are the classes balanced? How many of the kindergartners were affected by all of the teacher changes and substitutes the previous years? What do the new teachers need? Isn't that what data should be used for? The administration should have already predicted that these students would face extra challenges. At the end of last year, the decision was made to cut the reading intervention teaching position and reduce English language learner services. They could see us failing, so how could cutting services make things better for the students? There are wonderful things here at Maddie, but if the priority is academic achievement, then the board members need to start visiting the classrooms, get involved, and talk to a variety of teachers. Instead of judging scores, those in decision-making positions should be trying to help figure out how to help our teachers help our students, not trying to defeat teachers who are ringing alarm bells. Academic excellence at Maddie Washburn should be a priority for everyone in this district, as all will benefit. There is ample research linking reading by the end of first grade towards later success. Imagine how much less money would be needed on remediation in higher grades if students left Maddie at grade level, and in math too. We need our families to lift their voices, as theirs are most often the only ones heard. Your children deserve a school with an on-site administrator who can be more involved and visible and to receive the attention that they need. I encourage people to ask questions, seek answers from a variety of sources, and find out how you can help. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena.
Good evening. My name is Donna. My son Rowan is a second grader in Maddie Washburn. I want to start by reminding this board and administration that this second grade class was your last iReady kindergarten cohort. In the 6 years of that data collection, this cohort was the least prepared cohort entering kindergarten in 2022. An average of 22 students were found to be ready to go at kindergarten entry. When you disaggregate that data and look at Spanish-speaking families, that data plummets to only 13% of children ready to go at entry to kindergarten. You had robust data over 2 years ago regarding the unique needs of this cohort, and yet to date, no one has been able to tell me how this board, this district, or this school provided additional resources to these children who you knew needed more. Our family's experience in the first 2 years in this district, to put it kindly, was a complete disaster. My son had 6 different teachers in the first 2 years, along with 4 different principals. In those 2 years, I heard acknowledgement of what wasn't working, but little by the way of what the school or district could do to improve his experience. His incredible second teacher, Carrie West, and his entire second grade teaching team has redeemed our family's experience in this district and has given him what I had always hoped for when he entered the public education system. If you are using data to drive decision-making, you have ethical responsibilities regarding how that data is gathered, organized, and used. As you look at the data presented to you in January of this year, I would caution that data gathered in methods and manners that are contraindicated by the tools being used is at best useless. At worst, it is causing harm to our children and damaging them. We have entrusted our children's lives and futures in this district. As our leadership body, you have the responsibility to ensure our children are not harmed in the institutions you are charged to lead. You seem to have abandoned these responsibilities in what appears to be an effort to target a team or make a point, the goal or purpose of which remains entirely unclear to me and likely many others. Presenting data to this body without preparation for the team being targeted in that presentation was unethical. No one on this board approached the presentation with a level of curiosity or interest in better understanding what was actually happening for our children. Instead, there was visible and audible anger, frustration, and blaming. Our children and their teachers were described as, and I quote, a fly in a big old pot of wonderfulness, a booger that never gets fixed. And everyone is doing the group project, but somebody's not doing the group project. Your statements speak volumes about your lack of respect and appreciation for the teachers in your district, the children they teach, and the families who are trying desperately to support our children through. I implore this board and this administration to do better. Be better. You owe that to our children, to our teachers, and to this entire community.
Thank you, Donna.
I was hoping I could see over this podium because I'm kind of short, so I was hoping I could get up here. Good evening to the board, administrators, teachers, and parents that are here this evening. My name is Karen Winter, and I'm a SPED teacher at Maddie Washburn. But not only that, I'm a parent of 2 kids that have gone through this district and a community member for the past 30 years. I have supported my kids as well as many of your children, either academically or through sports. I'm here to speak on a few things. I want to address my deep sadness at the way teachers in our district were treated at the last board meeting. The comments that were made were hurtful and extremely unprofessional. As a teacher, parent, and community member, I expect from the people who are put in this position to represent and support our students and staff in this district to do better than that. It's so easy to sit and cast blame on something that is not working without trying to figure out why. In order for teachers to do their jobs, we need to be supported and given materials needed to do our jobs. Every year, many teachers, new and seasoned, start out the school year waiting for supplies and materials. I would like to look at this from the lens of a SPED teacher. We as SPED teachers are asked to teach students the same curriculum that is offered to gen ed students, but modified. In the 7 years that I have taught students with special needs, I have had to hodgepodge curriculum from many different places because I have never seen a full set of curriculum for SPED students. Fast forward a few years, and now gen ed teachers are getting new updated curriculum, but yet again, SPED was not given a full set of curriculum. Because of the fact that I'm a strong advocate for my students and team, we did finally, after a year, get a full set of curriculum. I don't mind fighting and advocating for SPED students and teachers, but it should not have to be that way. Students with disabilities and teachers, students with disabilities should be supported and included just as gen ed students are. The last thing I want to address is the fact that Maddie is an amazing school with exceptional teachers and staff that care deeply about the education of our students, but we do so much more. These students are here at the beginning of their academic career, and not only do they need academic support, they are learning to be students, how to sit in the classroom, how to be independent, how to share and play with others, and most importantly, how to learn how to manage their feelings. The teachers at Maddie from TK to 2nd grade, including our SPED team, as well as our amazing support team, are doing everything we can to help these students create a solid foundation. But we can't do it alone. We need to have the support from all of you. We need to all work together as a team. Some systems in this district seem to be broken, so we need to stop throwing blame, figure out what is not working, and find solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. So we're at 20 minutes. Raise your hand if you're planning to make a comment on this item, just so I know how many We've got 4. Okay, so vote from the board. Who is in favor of continuing on for the last 4 comments?
I'd suggest through 7:30. That would give us.
Or
at least
just
5
finish
more.
these last 4
Yeah.
who've already lined up? Okay, then we'll continue.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Lee, and I'm a new parent at Maddie Washburn. I grew up in Windsor and went to the Windsor schools from 5th grade through high school. I decided to come today and speak about my concerns and frustrations I have with the current politics between the district admin and Maddie Washburn staff and how it's affecting the school. After listening to the January board meeting, I was concerned about the scores, but more concerned about the board's position on what needs to happen to make a change. I agree with many things said that we as a community and school need to do whatever it takes to make the necessary changes for students to succeed and improve. During the last meeting, the board publicly expressed that they support whatever needs to happen to get the job done, but that does not seem to be the case. The dysfunctional relationship between the school district admin and the teachers is unacceptable. It seems that any staff member or teacher that has any constructive criticism to finding a solution or requesting resources to succeed at their job are told to sit down and stay in their place. As a parent, before test scores were even a topic, I was asking myself why is there no on-site reading specialist available to the students? Why is there no PE program for the children? Is this a funding issue? How is this benefiting our children by not having these resources available to them? It is disheartening as a parent that the teachers that dedicate their life to bettering my child's future are being punished for requesting basic tools to do their job and receive no support from the union and board. As a community member and parent that voted for some of you sitting up there, I feel like I have made a wrong choice and feel like I'm being let down. The board's position should be to support the staff and faculty and the members of the community and come up with a positive solution that helps everyone, especially our children. I'm confused by the motives of the board and wonder what you are trying to achieve by silencing staff that speak out. Are you trying to push out teachers that stand up for change and defy what the board thinks is best? What good comes from losing staff and teachers that have created a relationship with our children and made a positive imprint on our children's life? Why wouldn't we try to work with current staff and come up with a collective solution that helps teachers? It's unacceptable that a group of educated, established adults in your position can't work together to come up with a solution that is agreed on by all. It may currently be a battle between the board and faculty, but the children are the ones paying the price, and it shows in their test scores. I'm going to be 100% honest. After discovering the treatment of the teachers and staff and the non-supportive attitude of the union and board behind the scenes, I'm unsure if I'm going to keep my child at Maddie or in the Windsor School District. I know you can't respond to my comments, but the community and parents deserve answers to these questions.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Thank you, Rachel.
Oh, I was going to ask you, I didn't get it right now. I was going to ask you if you could say your name again.
Rachel Lee.
Great, thank you.
My name is Cassandra Alfano, and I am a teacher at Maddie Washburn. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about an issue that directly affects our students. Public school funding has always been a challenge, but the real concern is how the money is being spent. Over the years, more administrative positions have been added at our district office, while schools continue to struggle with fewer resources. Roles that were once managed by a single person have now been split into multiple positions. Meanwhile, at the school level, essential student services are being cut. Our district is not prioritizing the students' needs. We don't have a PE teacher, we don't have a music teacher. There are absolutely no extracurricular programs to enrich students' education. Other districts around us continue to offer these opportunities, ensuring that their students receive a well-rounded education, while ours go without. And now, despite these existing gaps, we are now losing the dean position at Maddie Washburn, a role essential for daily student support and success. My next concern, will there be a reading intervention teacher next year, or will that also be eliminated? Earlier this year, we were repeatedly told that there was no money for this position. After months of advocating and being told the funds were unavailable, the district finally hired a reading intervention teacher. While this is a step in the right direction, it raises an important question. Will this support remain in place next year, or will we once again be forced to fight for a resource that directly impacts student success? To be clear, this is not about questioning the importance of admin support and their roles, But how do we justify cutting essential student services while expanding district-level positions? If our budget is tight, why is the first solution to take away from the students rather than reevaluating the need for district-level admin growth? We are not the only district facing financial struggles, but what sets our situation apart is the choices being made. Expanding district admin while reducing direct student support. This is not just a financial issue. It's a matter of priorities. I urge the board to reconsider how resources are being distributed. Can we find a way to put students first and ensure that we are meeting the fundamental needs of the students in our classroom? Our students deserve more, not less. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Hello, and thank you, board members, for listening to me this evening. My name is Stephanie Olson, and my stepdaughter is a second grader at Maddie Washburn Elementary. I'm here today to advocate for our second grade teachers who are being unfairly blamed for student assessment scores. To hold one factor solely responsible ignores the significant barriers this group of students face. The pandemic's impact on their early learning and social development, the unique needs of dual language learners in classrooms with mostly monolingual instructors, insufficient support from administrators, high rates of turnover with both leadership and teachers, and deficiencies in both special education and needs-based programming. These assessment scores should not be seen as a fly in the punch, but rather as a canary in the mine, warning us of the need for corrective action before the whole system falls apart. Systematic issues, not teacher performance alone, heavily influence student outcomes. Instead of scapegoating educators or trying to coach from the sidelines, let's focus on addressing these challenges to create an environment where all students can thrive and teachers can effectively support them. We must invest in solutions, not blame. Each of us here are stakeholders and need to collaborate to address the concern that so many students across all grade levels are not scoring at grade level in reading or math. As a parent, I take my role in my child's education very seriously and expect the same level of commitment throughout the various levels of the Windsor education system. One of the stated responsibilities of the Board of Trustees, according to the district website, is encouraging active participation from students, teachers, and community members to foster a collaborative educational community. The comments made by administrators and board members in reaction to the second grade assessment results did not show a spirit of collaboration, but instead displayed a desire to pass the buck and throw hardworking, dedicated teachers under the bus. Assessment data of any kind should never be looked at in a vacuum like this, or have one data set picked out from the rest to try to prove a point. Results must be looked at within the proper context and consider how diverse factors can influence the results of the group. Yes, the second grade assessment scores overall were not the results we wanted to see. But to make bold assumptions and accusations in an attempt to prompt swift action off a single data set is not only ignorant, but threatens the goals of the district, board, administrators, teachers, and parents. We are all on the same team, working together for the success of our students. So let's act like it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Good evening, board. My name is Adam. I'm speaking as a parent of a preschooler at Maddie. After hearing some of the comments from the board members and assistant superintendent, I'm having second thoughts of putting my son in TK here. Let it be clear, data matters. It can help improve education, but data does not define a teacher. What I heard in the last meeting in the way data was used to criticize teachers was disrespectful, inappropriate, and unproductive. Teaching is a hard job. From what I heard, it seems that the board members that were talking have never been in front of a classroom, yet they were quick to judge the people who do this hard work every day. Teachers deserve respect and support from their administration, the board, and the district. Anything less hurts not only our teachers, but also our kids. After hearing that meeting, I wonder what happens when the public isn't watching. If teachers are spoken this way in public, what were they being said behind closed doors? I'll end with this. The assistant superintendent and the board members who criticize these teachers owe them an apology. Honestly, I'm shocked at the lack of kindness and understanding that did not happen before today. Our teachers, and importantly, our children, deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Okay, thank you for all of the comments. We'll now move on to the Board of Trustees report. Does anyone have a report?
Well, thank you. I will share, and again, the public comment I get is heartfelt. A couple of my colleagues were mentioned. I was actually the first one who started the questions to the Maddie principal, and I don't recall seeing most, if not any of you there. Maybe you watch it on video. I will tell you, I have seen a total of 3 pieces of written correspondence before today. This is a very inefficient way to get feedback back and forth. You talk at us. Now we have to talk at you because we can't interact in closed session. And we got a letter dated January 29th from the second grade team, a letter dated February 15th from a first grade teacher, and a letter dated yesterday from a classroom aide. This is a very important issue. We have received more letters about the dog policy in the district than we have communication. So I just would ask.
You want to send you letters?
No, this is not an interactive time, ma'am. I'm sorry. But what I'd like to do is have real communication. This is not it. But anyway.
Just so you know, this is not helping.
I got it. So we would like to talk to you, not rather than talking past each other. And I'll just leave it at that. There's good things I want to report. I was pleased to see in our Windsor Connection magazine, on positive things, our Windsor Middle School girls basketball team won. We sometimes don't talk about high schools, but more importantly, germane to some of the things that we're talking about today and later on in the agenda, we went to a Sonoma County Office of Education trustee training that's held every 2 years, and had a very good presentation and then debrief afterwards by Professor Joseph Bishop from UCLA, and a book that is Our Children Can't Wait. And I hope we can get past talking past each other, because this is, I agree with you, ma'am, this is not helping. And we get to deliberate together in person. That's when we get to talk about things, when we're sitting up here. We do not deliberate in closed session. We do not talk to each other about district business, except when we're up here. And to do that, we need to be more engaged, I think, with you, and I would ask that we do that. Let me leave it at that. So that's all that I have.
Good evening. Thanks for everybody coming. Actually, I'm glad everybody's here. For 30 years, well, first off, let me just spell a few things. One, I've spent about 3 hours a day for 30 years with Windsor kids, teaching them. And yet people don't think that we teach the kids or we're not involved. And then we spend all day Saturday for about 12 hours teaching the kids. Matter of fact, this last Saturday, I taught our team the word vicissitude. We had a bad thing happen to one of our kids, and we were driving back, and the kids were pretty disappointed that we didn't win the section championship. We took second, and there was an unfortunate accident in a match, and we lost. We took second place. And so we were driving back, and I just told the kids, hey, I'm going to teach you the $25 word, vicissitudes. And I said, guys, sometimes bad things happen to good people. There's no rhyme or reason. It just happens. The only choice you have is what you do with what happened. You can be upset about it, you can be mad about it, you can mope about it, you can do a variety of different things, or you can just take it as a lesson in life and then try to do better. I've tried to do that with our kids forever. Why I bring that up is this. Since I started coaching, I knew that our kids in our district were bright. They were smart. They were ambitious, and they were hardworking across the board, all of them. And yet every time I would see the test scores for these bright, smart, ambitious, hardworking kids, the scores would be like super low. And being kind of competitive by nature anyway, I would have people in other towns and districts and stuff say, oh, Windsor, their test scores, their education sucks there, it's not good, and blah, blah, blah. You know, communities kind of trying to say how they're better than the others and whatever. And it would bother me because I'm with the kids every day, and I knew how bright they were and how educated they were, but it wasn't showing up on the tests. So I started diving into finding out why the test scores weren't very representative of the kids. And I would get a lot of different answers from a lot of different educators and teachers, and this, some didn't focus on it. I mean, the old Whitford principle, what's in it for me? Why should a kid work super, super hard to do really well on a test that made no difference to their grade, no difference to anything? I understand that. I've tried to work on how can we get our community and our businesses to start to focus on that. And if there's a measurable difference for a kid, maybe they get recognized at a business. Maybe they get an ice cream cone, something, I don't know, whatever it is. So I've always wanted the test scores to be reflective of our kids and where their really skill sets and abilities are. So that's bothered me for many, many years. So when we hear on the board and we hear through the community that we need to do more, need to do better, when the board allocates funds for people to get professional development, so that way they can be better teachers, they can learn new techniques. You know, in my business, I have to do continuing education 20 hours every year. Most professions do. When we hear that and then people don't take advantage of that opportunity, and so the money that we invest and the time isn't taken care of, it bothers me that we're not taking advantage of those things. I understand completely that my frustration, 30 years of it, of not seeing improvements in stuff, is there. Then to my delight, I see that we have these test results, and almost across the board, the kids are doing much, much better. So I'm like, wow, this is really, really good. Yet there's an anomaly that's not. I run a couple companies. I look at data all the time. I have to try and figure out why is there an outlier here? What was the difference? So on and so forth. And I remember that my direction to our admin was, you guys get in there and figure out what the anomaly is, find out what the problem is, and fix it. I said, and if you can't, I said something to the effect of, I know I could go in and try and figure out, and I can figure it out what it is and fix it, whatever it is. Now, I know people shake their head and say, no, you couldn't. But I have a 30-year business history of showing that result. The bottom line is this. Stephanie Olson, I think that was Stephanie. Stephanie, you made a comment. You said canary in a coal mine. I wish I was as articulate as you. I probably should. That would have been a better example to use, maybe than the punch bowl and a flyer, whatever. Could have said a leaf, whatever it was. But I think you guys understand what I was trying to get across, and that is all the results that we got in were wonderful, except for we were missing some things. And so I know our board, I'm not speaking for our board, we all want the same thing. We want our kids to do better. It only comes down to one thing. What's best for our kids? How do we get there? I really don't care what the means and methods are to get there, but I do want us to get there. And how long should I have to wait for us to get there? that's kind of thing. So I'm kind of at the end of I don't want to wait any longer. I want us to get there. I want our kids to get the things that they deserve, which is that education. So anyhow, if my, I don't even know what you would call them. If I said something or used an example that wasn't received well, for that I apologize. But I don't apologize for wanting to keep the standards high, or wanting the kids to do as best as they can, and for everybody to be a team member to make that happen. Whatever we have to do it within the constriction that we have, financially, we only have so much funds to do certain things. But to do those things are important, and that's the goal, to make it better for our kids. And so that is with that. With regard to that for our last meeting, on a positive, not a positive side, but on the additional side of things, our kids are doing great. The rest of the team, actually we're doing really, really good in a lot of our extracurricular stuff. The rest of the team, they're heading down to Union City tonight. They're young. We have a lot of freshmen and sophomores on the team. Right now, a lot of people think that we should be placing the top 3. We could even possibly win it. It's kind of ironic. 10 years ago, this weekend, we won the section championship. And our team captain was Emilio Perez. It was Emilio Perez. The whole family, they're all Perez's. And 10 years later, we have Leo Perez, who's one of our senior captains. He's the #1 seed in the whole section tournament. And it's just I'm kind of waiting to see how things kind of play out. And it could be kind of deja vu to have the Windsor team win the whole section again and have another Perez leading the whole group. So anyhow, as soon as this meeting's over, I'm driving down to Union City and hopefully watching the kids make history again for our community. So anyhow, thank you for your time.
Good evening. So the first thing that I want to say tonight is I'm so happy to see all of you here, just because I feel like many of these comments needed to be aired out and that we needed to have this conversation. And I don't want to also discount some of the other topics that we heard about tonight. So I'm just going to take them one by one. So the first one that we heard about tonight was immigration. So I do want to say that I understood the whole speech that was shared in Spanish because I'm also a bilingual speaker. And I do want to honor the fact that it's important for people in difficult times to be able to have the freedom of speech and to be able to share how they're feeling, right? And then the second thing is, I think that also one thing that I feel connects everything that we've listened to tonight is also the power of listening. The power of listening is so critically important because, for example, if I was going to make a policy about immigration, I would make sure that a significant part of the people in the room were actual immigrants, right? Because you need to be able to listen to the stories from people that have had those experiences. And because of that, I feel that our response, to immigration initially was not good. Right, so I made some comments about that, and I'm hoping that this, we'll be able to find more solutions about how to have these conversations going forward with people who are affected by current policies. So that's the first comment I wanted to make. The second comment I wanted to make is that also last year when I was still president, I made a suggestion that we have a study session about looking at our policies for students with disabilities. And I also look forward to still having that because I think it is critically important to have something that represents students with disabilities on our dashboard so that we can continue to look at data and continue to look at what is important for, parents with students with disabilities and what is important for them, right? So I do want to say that I hope that that will be on a future board meeting, to look at what does that look like? Our dashboard in terms of aggregating data, but also looking at what are the resources for students in our district. It's so important when you are in an environment to look at what are the resources in that environment and to be very aware of what those are. Because clearly if something goes wrong, you want to be aware of all of your resources. The third thing that I want to say is that in terms of this whole conversation that we've been having tonight about Maddie Washburn, it's so important also to listen, to have solutions. And I really like this idea from the teachers in terms of, inviting us to go, visit and, look at, what is happening in the classroom. I do believe, I think what I learned in the previous meeting when all of the data was being shared is I made a comment about how sometimes learning is not a straight arrow, right? You don't just get from point A to point B. I'm also a teacher. Paul is also a teacher. I just wanted to share that we do have teachers on this board. And I know that learning could look like it's all over the place, right? It could look like, this crazy abstract painting. It's not a straight arrow. So I do believe that the pandemic has had an effect on our children still. But again, we need to listen to each other to find solutions and then also look at what are our resources, right? So I do think that at this board, we need more conversations about how we can interact, with staff, teachers, but also the public in a way where we can have more of a dialogue, because it is very difficult to sit up here and not be able to have a dialogue, back and forth. But I do want to just remind everybody to listen to each other when you're making decisions, when all of us are making decisions, because all of us have the power of making decisions in our lives. Please be sure to reach out to the people that those decisions affect. We just don't always do that. And we really need to do that, especially in this, new political reality that we're living in. We really do need to listen to each other. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. I know Paul wants to go last. And okay, you want to go? I was going to go really quickly because I don't really have much other than to say thank you so much for coming, for everyone who took the time to be here. It means a lot. And I appreciate your comments. Rich and Bill, I think each have one small thing left to say, and then Paul will go.
You, Rebecca and Megan, I did hear what you said, and I heard it last time. I can commit to you that we are going to have that special session. My older brother was hit by a drunk driver when he was 8 years old. He was in a coma for 9 months. He's had challenges his whole life. He would go to school and walk at school. He would have people pick on him, bully him, spit on him, treat him terribly. That's just my experience with my brother and with others. We are very sensitive to the same concerns that you have. Unfortunately, the way government works, it works slow, but it does work. And we 100%, I can commit to you that we are going to have a special session where we're going to talk about it. I want to do it on a weekend so we have time, get everybody that wants to be there, and start the process. I know it's a process. It's a process of where we can put policies in place, figure out what policies work, figure out what policies don't work, figure out what things need to be done, and get input by not only us and not only you folks, but by people in the industry that this is what they focus on. And, they're the experts in the industry on how we can do things. So I wanted to just make sure I wrote that down, and I was going through it, and I'm sorry when I switched gears. But anyhow, so we've heard you the multiple times that you've been here. We have heard you, and we are going to have that session. We're going to calendar it. I believe that it's going to be in the early spring, I think. We got to figure out the schedule stuff, but I can commit you, we are going to have it, and we'll make sure that you hear about it.
Yeah, with the passions of the last hour and a half, I wanted to go back. Thank you, Melly, for mentioning it. Our first speaker, Erica Garcia, we had two occasions in the last week or so. We had a joint meeting in here with the town council where there was discussion and presentations by Chief Piccinini about immigration, talking, and before that we had a meeting with the board about immigration policy, our options, our lack of options. But I also wanted to recognize and thank you, Melly, for the leadership on Saturday, on the 15th. Some of you may have seen it. We had an immigration resource community fair at Windsor High School. It was started by, well, Mally was a helper with it, but one of our high school students in a club called MECHA. You may have seen the Santa Rosa Junior College MECHA chapter being the Press Democrat maybe 2 or 3 days ago. And we were one of the few places where in our student leadership, our students said, we need to do something for the community about this. We're all on pins and needles trying to figure out what this is going to look. But on February 15th, your Windsor High School students helped sponsor this community immigration event that happened peacefully. It was calm. It was well attended from Santa Rosa and all over the North Bay area. And I just wanted to recognize that. Thank you again, Mally, for that, and our student leaders at MECHA for having that event. That I didn't want to have that not go mentioned today. That was a big deal. We had some concerns about what visitors we're going to have from outside the community. I will tell you what, seamlessly, and I think that is our student leadership and our town partners who helped that happen. So that's what I was.
So I just want to make a correction because I don't want to take credit for the people that put on that event, but it's actually a group from the Santa Rosa Junior College who put that event on. That's called Líderes del Futuro. I actually helped to organize a workshop that was online on Zoom with an immigration attorney to inform people about their rights, which was different. There are 2 separate events, but I'm pleased to say that they both went really, really well. But, once again, I think as we have these conversations, we just need to include people that, actually represent the proper community, that we are talking about, having a forum about, or making a policy about. It's really important to have that engagement. So that is all. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming. I listened to all the comments, and I appreciate everybody stepping forward and giving your heartfelt comments. I just wanted to start by saying that I am a teacher. I taught for 24 years in Cloverdale. I taught 2nd grade for 11 years, so I do know what it takes to be in a classroom. And I only say that to, I guess all this focus on data is taken away from the children. And I'm going to back up. When I first got on the board, I was one of the first ones who started highlighting data and test scores. And then I was told, well, wait a minute, it's not about the test scores, it's about the kids. And so I started taking a step back. And I said, okay, that's true. It is about the children. But what concerns me is this back and forth. It's just, it's not productive. It's not productive for there to be this administration versus the teachers. It's not productive. As an educator, I would invite you to invite me into your classrooms. I do know what goes on in classrooms, and I have expressed to the board on many occasions what things maybe I thought we could do a little bit differently. And you may not feel it right now, but our superintendent does listen. He listens when I talk to him about certain issues. So I feel like I'm just one person on the board out of 5. They look to me sometimes for these kinds of issues, and I think I was very lucky not to be at the last board meeting, but I got to see the board meeting on video from a different perspective, and there were some missteps, definitely, but I think that all of us in this room want to do what's best for the children. So again, I invite any one of you, the principals, the teachers in the room, the parents in the room, if you're having issues. My board email is on the website. Email me, talk to me, because I want to be there for you. I want to be a resource for you going forward. And that's really all I want to say on that, because there is a lot of great things that are going on in the district. And I want to switch gears I could talk more on that, but I think you know where I'm coming from. Okay. I was able to attend a training because see, I'm a learner like you guys. I know teachers are lifelong learners. I retired from the classroom 5 years ago, but I still have that curiosity and want to learn. So I went to a training for this Red Bud resource group, and Stephanie went as well, to learn more about our Native American community and learn how our district and the Native American community can learn from each other and grow, and how our curriculum can be developed around that. So I feel like I want to end on a positive note. It was a positive training, and I'm looking forward to learning more about how we and our Native American community can work together. But let's everybody all just take a deep breath, because I can tell I'm very nervous, but because there's this tension in the room that's palpable, and I just want us all to just take a deep breath, and we can get through this. We can work together. That's my hope.
Thank you, Paul. Want to take a break? Okay, we're going to take a few minutes. So 5-minute break, maybe 3-minute break, and we'll reconvene at item 3.8. So be ready, Pete. Always like to stretch.
What's your last name? Yeah. First, I was like, I've seen you on there for sure.
I've got enough to do.
Okay, so that's the one. Oh, the first class? Other educator.
I wanted to just fantastic. How long ago? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely you should. Yeah. All right, have a good night.
Trey, how are you? Are you a community member? The auditor. I'm Michael. Hey, very nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you.
That's all I can do.
Sorry, Windsor.
Except reading.
We, which is not. No, Heather.
Okay, that is what it says.
15. You love
But
Okay, we'll reconvene the meeting. Gather our board. Pete and I are ready. Okay, so we'll bring it back to item 3.8, staff appreciation. Pete, go ahead and take it away. We have one board member who wasn't feeling well and had to leave, and we will reconvene with the four of us, plus our two wonderful student trustees. Go ahead.
Good evening and thank you. All right, I'll try to bring a little sparkle to the meeting. Do some celebration of some of the fantastic things that are happening and the people that bring them to us. So tonight for our staff recognitions, these are staff members from Brooks Elementary School, and I'm going to go ahead and let the board know I will be sending you all an invitation for the March 5th staff meeting, which will be held at 1:30 in room 205. No need to write it down. It will come to you. So tonight we are going to celebrate two phenomenal staff members, and if you've been to Brooks and you've gone through the front doors, you have met Mary Fletcher. Mary Fletcher is an amazing human being. She comes in and she brings energy to the district office when she visits, and she certainly brings energy to her own site. Mary sets the tone of positivity and kindness on campus. She's warm to everybody, parents, students, and staff alike. She has an innate ability to see the big picture of student and staff needs while also taking care of the small details. If anyone needs anything, we all know Mary is the go-to. It's always with a smile and a can-do attitude. Mary puts the welcome in welcome to Brooks. We'll be celebrating Mary on March 5th. For our certificated recognition, we're going to recognize Allie Hartley. Again, if you get to go to Brooks and you are witness to the garden, you have seen her work. If you get to visit 5th grade, she does a job share, you also get to see her work. She balances the two expertly. Mary does a lot for Brooks. She effectively balances the garden, teaching 5th grade, and single-handedly has planned 5th grade science camp. And they're at science camp right now, right? Yeah. They are there, all right. She gives up her lunch to I shouldn't say that as HR. She never gives up her lunch. She does not. She balances it, yes, but she does not give up her lunch. And goes beyond every day. Allie thinks outside the box and brings solutions to the table. Allie, you are so appreciated. So thank you, and we'll bring you up.
Thanks, Pete. We're moving on to consent. Normally my vice president would do that, but I don't know that he is. Oh, he is ready to do that. So first, I'll ask if we have any items that we'd like to discuss or any recusals. Nope, doesn't look like it. And I don't think we're pulling any items for discussion. Okay, then take it away.
Thank you, President. I would like to make a motion that we accept consent items 4.1 through 4.9 inclusive. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I have a couple comments.
Okay. And then,
on 4.1, it's our personnel assignment order, and there's a lot of folks that will celebrate upon retiring when they go. I just wanted to note that our friend and longtime interactor, Pete Stefanisco from the WDEA, is retiring. But on 4.2, I noticed in our certificates of seniority, we have 31 teachers. It was a little harder on the classified list, but 31 teachers, Susanna, who have taught since the last millennium. Laura Gonzalez at the middle school has taught for 33 years in the district. And I was stunned and amazed that Luz Curiel at Kellikelmac is the senior classified. She has been with us since 1985. for 39 years. And so thanks to them and every single one of the nearly 600 people who are on those lists now. So I was pleased to see that. That's it.
Oh, good. Okay. Then preferential student board member vote? Or you can vote however you want. All right. Aye. Okay. And then the rest of the board?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's, you can. 2, 4, 0, 1.
Okay, and now we'll move on to item 5.1, which is our audit report. And this item is going to be presented, I believe by Michael Ash of Christy White. Thank you for being here. Thank you for waiting. We appreciate it.
Well, good evening. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's no problem. Michael Ash, partner with Christy White. I've been the partner on Windsor since I think 2014, 2015. I live in San Diego though, and I have a colleague that lives in Santa Rosa. So she's been coming to the board meetings lately and presenting. So I haven't been here in quite a while. So it's great to be back. Great to see you guys. Thank you for inviting me. Here to present the 2024 audit. So every school district, county office, charter school has to have an independent audit each year, and that's due to the state by December 15th. So I'm going to give you just a quick rundown of what's in here, and then I'll answer any questions that you might have. So I always tell boards, if you're only going to look at one page in the audit report, it's this one right here, the summary of auditor's results. It's towards the end. I'll just briefly explain what it all means. So you'll see the first section, financial statements. You'll see an unmodified opinion. So that's the best opinion that you can get. That's in our independent auditor's opinion, the financial statements as presented, fairly stated in all material respects. So that's all the information that Austin presents to you in the unaudited actuals, plus long-term things such as capital assets, long-term debt. So very good there. Because you're a school district, we have to do your audit under what's called government auditing standards. We look at your internal controls over financial reporting. We don't give an opinion. That's for more public companies. Governments have, GASB decided that that's not cost beneficial for governments. But if we do come across anything, we have to report in what's called an audit finding. No material weaknesses, which is good. We did notice a significant deficiency, and it's pretty minor. It's just financial reporting. There were a couple audit adjustments that had to be made. Very common ones, fair value of cash and county treasury, ASB. Those are common across some of our school districts. So not a huge deal there. And then no non-compliant material to the financial statements. So very good. Next section, federal awards. Because the district spends over $750,000 in federal monies, you have to get what's called a single audit. And there are certain programs that we have to test based on their dollar value, and certain things within those programs that we have to look at. And this year we looked at your education stabilization fund, all your ESSER and GEAR money, as well as your child nutrition cluster. Unmodified opinion, no findings there, which is great. Last section, state awards. So the state audit guide, and this state audit guide gets bigger and bigger. I wish it were getting smaller, but it gets bigger. Anytime there's a new funding source that they added in there. So it's huge. I think it was 25 pages. Now it's 56. So unmodified opinion, we did have 2 findings. Again, it's very compliance, very technical. One related to the instructional materials hearing. It was done. It was just late. It has to be done before the 8th week of school. One, educator effectiveness. The reports were submitted. They were just submitted after October 1st. So that's it. Just 3 what I would consider pretty minor findings. I want to thank Austin and team for all their assistance. They're great to work with. Are there any questions that I can help answer?
Any questions? No. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, then we'll take a vote. And thank you again. Student board members? Aye. Aye. And this is to accept the report. And rest of the board?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you. Oh, we didn't motion. We're going to retroactively motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the report.
Yeah.
Yes.
Second.
And we'll have, thank you very much for taking care of that part of the action item. Okay, next is consideration of requests to recognize provisional intern permit, PIP, for general education teachers at Brooks. Pete, and I think you have a few items, so we'll
Got me for the next 5, yes.
Yeah.
Lucky you. Here we go. So yes, 5.2, we are seeking approval of a provisional intern permit for Daniel Flores. Daniel's a district sub. He is doing a long-term substitution at Brooks Elementary School for Catherine Mirabali, who shifted to Dean. Daniel is a highly qualified substitute, and he's done this transitional subbing for 4 or 5 of our teachers in the district. He's great at it and recognized as one of our best subs. In fact, somebody's already trying to get him for the beginning of the year next year. He is so qualified. So anyway, the district is asking that the board approve his provisional intern permit so he can complete this year in that classroom.
Any questions or discussion from the board? Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the provisional permit.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any public comment? Okay, student board members? Aye.
Aye.
Other board members?
Aye.
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 And we'll kind of move quickly through this section, I think, because there's not really much presentation, right? It's just we're going through the items.
Correct. 5.3 through 5.6, we are basically asking for we're seeking board approval for the resolutions, and they do require votes, although there's not much to vote on 5.5 because you'll see that the attachment I is empty. I have not had an opportunity to speak to all of those folks, and I want to make sure that I am not surprising anybody by presenting their name at a board meeting before I have an opportunity to speak to them. So I don't know if we need to vote on 5.5 because I haven't had an opportunity to present to them.
If the attachments, I know the attachment's under executive content. If it's not public, then you shouldn't vote. We should wait until next month. We still have time.
So we'll table the vote on 5.5.
Very good. So for 5.3, Windsor Unified School District is seeking board approval for resolution to implement a reduction in force for certain certified positions, certificated positions within accordance Education Code 44955.
Can you just clarify that a number of those positions are 0.2s, 0.167? They're individuals who might be working beyond a 1.0 status?
Certainly. So the bottom section of the resolution, where it breaks down into 0.2s and 0.167s, those, although they total I think it's just over 9 FTE, those positions largely are extra, they're extra duty, and they're added to that person. And all but I think we did the math, all but 3 FTE of those will probably return in some form or another the following year. We'll fly them again, but I can't carry forward somebody over 1.0. We don't keep anybody over 1.0, so every year we have to retire that extra duty. So that's what that section is.
And just so you're clear, if there's a way to put it for the high school, if we have 0.167s and we have enough of them that make sense to create a position that makes sense, meaning you don't have a teacher who needs to teach math one section, English one section, social studies one section, whatever, all different courses. If we have some sections available where we can put together a realistic job, then we do that. But sometimes we have students come in, we have too many, we need to add a section, and it doesn't make sense to go out for an entire position so much as ask if anybody would like an extra section to teach. Just so you understand why these exist, which I think you do already.
Paul, you look like you have a question.
Yeah, I do have a question. Just for clarification, these are showing reduction in force, but actually aren't some of these being moved to other positions? Are we really reducing our staff by these numbers?
The total reduction, are you talking about the bottom section or all of it? Some of them are actually leaving, yes. Some of them are, the majority of that top section, that's a reduction in force.
So we're getting rid of, Can you clarify like how many total FTEs we're reducing?
Right now it's at 16.289, I believe. So that's total for the entire page. And this is an incomplete list, so there'll be more. Again, I haven't had an opportunity. I want to make sure that I have spoken with the people so their positions don't end up on a resolution and they have no idea about it. So there are other things to add, but as I mentioned before, that bottom section with the extra sections, many of those are coming back. Many of those are going to be reflown next year, so elective positions can be filled, or as Jeremy indicated, if we have an extra math section or an extra English section, those will come back. So if you subtract out what is coming back, I think we did the math, it was 13.489 or something like that.
Paul, are you asking if
No, I
it's
think it's-
people or positions? Is that what you're asking?
Well, yeah, I'm wondering what's the total amount that we're really saving in the budget by doing the reduction of
That's a good question. I think, and I can't give you an exact straight answer, but I can go through some of the positions. A lot of the positions that are truly being PKS are grant-funded positions. So when you look at the deans, those are both grant-funded positions, learning recovery block grant. The intervention teacher, that was the position that we added midway through the year that was temporary. The wellness center, that's another position that was funded externally, and we're actually trying to find the funding through SCO. They're telling us we have funding, but we don't want to commit to something that we haven't received funding for. I'm unsure the story on the secondary counselor. I can go down to elementary teacher, Maddie Washburn. We had an extra teacher to reduce class size in kindergarten down to 20 versus 24. And then I'm not sure, Callie, that's probably due to enrollment, I would imagine. And that's an enrollment reduction.
Oh, yes,
so that's
that
not,
was grade 5 was over.
it was just low. So the only one I can't explain is the secondary counselor. I'm sure somebody here can.
I can. So that's migrant ed, and that was also funded with specific funds, and those are
those funds. We're not sure. We may have them, but we don't want to have a position if we don't have them, and there's some unclear information that we have. So does that help?
No, thanks for clarifying.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to, I've done a little something like this for Jeremy, and I'd be happy to comb through it when everything falls on it and really dig down deep and give you an exact number of like really what's coming back, because Jeremy wants to know the same thing, so I'll get that to you.
Great. Yeah,
okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask the question a slightly different way. Taking out the 9 FTEs that are the 0.1s and the 0.16s, the additionals that have to be reflown, how many filled positions now do we have on this particular resolution that are not having jobs next year? Like people in jobs, and those jobs are going away. They're not going into a different assignment of some other teaching or other.
My rough estimate, based on our guessing of funding, is between 10 and 13.
Okay, that's the 10 to 13.
Yeah. No. Pete, I don't think that's your question. You're asking about people. How many people are going to have a job? One. That's the only, we have one.
Okay, the one you were just talking about. Okay.
Correct.
Following up on that then, because Susanna was raising her head when we said 10 or 13. We've coordinated the same question for, I guess, all 3 of these items. We've coordinated this with the respective union leadership, and they're aware of this, and
yes.
There's no issues that we're aware of.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. I shared this information with WDEA. Likewise, I shared the 5.6 with CSEA, so everybody
I know you commonly do that. I just wanted to ask for the record for all of our people playing at home.
Copy that. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Any other discussion, public comment? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I'll move approval of resolution 2025-13.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Paul. And then we'll need a roll call vote. Claudia, it's your moment to shine, and you're going to get a few more moments.
Stephanie Ahmad?
Yes.
Bill Adams?
Yes.
Rich Carnation?
Yes.
Paul Cogorno?
Yes.
Malinali Lopez?
Absent.
Kylie Hernandez?
Here.
Yes. Yes. And Zoe Ferment.
We're with you.
Zoe Ferment-Cavage.
Yes.
All right, that was just our warm up. Okay, thank you all. All right, so we'll move on to 5.4.
5.4 is a release of temporary staff, resolution 2025-14. The district requests the board approve to release temporary certificated staff in accordance with Ed Code 44954.
Any discussion on this item? No questions? Okay, any public comment? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to accept this.
I'll second.
Okay, and then we'll need a roll call vote, and we'll start with our student trustees.
Kylie Hernandez?
Yes.
Zoe Ferment-Cavage?
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad?
Yes.
Bill Adams?
Yes.
Rich Carnation?
Yes.
Paul Cogorno?
Yes.
Malinali Lopez?
Absent. Okay, thank you very much. And then we'll move to item,
So we're just going to table 5.5?
table 5.5.
Okay.
Which I think I might be logged into a different version of the agenda. Can everyone see it? Okay. And then we'll move on to 5.6. We'll table that one.
5.6 is Resolution 2025-16. This is also an item that will be different in the March meeting, again, because I have not had an opportunity to speak to all the individuals, and I want to make sure that I honor and respect their contributions to the district personally before we put them on a resolution. And the district is seeking board approval to eliminate or reduce specific classified positions in accordance with Ed Code 45308.
Okay. So it's okay to move forward with this even though we don't have the specific individuals that are impacted?
So can we vote on this one? And
I would, yes. I think what you're voting on is the public facing document. You're taking action on that one. And then remember, we're ahead of the game, right? So we have to do this in March, and we'll bring all the names in March, all the other names that are not this one position.
Okay.
I should say not names, the other positions.
These
that
are,
not on here.
I mean, what I'm looking at is a list of positions.
Yeah, you're in executive content, but there is one in public content.
I'm looking at the list of positions, not names. Yeah. Okay. Any discussion, questions? Public comments? No? Okay, then I think we need a motion. I will make the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and then roll call vote, starting with our student board members, please.
Kylie Hernandez.
Yes.
Zoe Formankovich.
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Rich Carnation.
Yes.
Paul Cogorno.
Yes.
Malinali Lopez.
Absent. Okay. Thank you. And then do we have one more or two more?
That's it for me, right?
That's it for you?
So, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Pete. Appreciate it. Okay, 5.7. This is another resolution, but we're talking about classroom capacity limits and for purposes of interdistrict transfers.
Yeah, so we just approved one for this year a couple months ago. And as we were talking about Claudia's time to shine, if you ever need to find her in her office, she is the one buried underneath that stack of interdistrict transfers. So Superintendent Decker showed that we are way up this year in interdistrict transfers, and we have so many requests for next year. So we are already needing to pass our resolution for capacity for next year to make sure that we will fill every single seat in the classroom. But at some point, if we run out of rooms or our particular programs run out of space, we do need to be able to tell people that at this time we don't have the space. We certainly won't do that if we can hire more teachers, if we can bring on more staff. But because we will at some point hit a physical limit to how many we can fit in our classrooms.
Okay. Any questions? Nope. Sounds good. Public comment.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-17.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second it.
Okay, and then we'll start, is this a resolution? This is a resolution. Okay, so we'll start with our student trustees and then the rest of us will go after.
Kylie Hernandez.
Yes.
Zoe Formankovich.
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Rich Carnation.
Yes.
Paul Cogorno.
Yes.
Malinali Lopez.
Absent. Okay. We are flying through these items. We are now on 5.8, which is another resolution for the commitment of funds. This is presented by Austin.
Hello, board. So right now in Fund 17, we have about $1 million, just over $1.08 million. That money previously, there was 700,000 of it that we had committed. The backstory on why we had committed that a couple of years ago was there was a reserve cap at the state. So the state had reached a certain amount of revenues, and it triggered to local government agencies, not just school districts, but other government agencies, that they could not keep a fund balance of 10%, or they would have to commit those funds for specific reasons. I was transparent, I would say, with Diane Green when I told her that we were going to commit them, because we're not just going to spend them nilly-willy. That's a professional term, but I think you guys would like that. Yeah. So I told Diane, I said, I'm going to commit these for pension obligations so that in the future, if pensions were to increase, if the pension costs were to increase, we would have funds available to pay for that immediately. But that those were not hard set in stone for that reason until we found a reason that we needed to spend it. With that being said, pension costs never did increase, so that money is still sitting there. Another need that has come up this year that is a significant need, in my opinion, is a need for technology. We had such an influx with COVID money during those 4 years, and we had all students go on to devices. We had staff that we refreshed their devices, but now we've hit this kind of 4-year mark post-COVID, 4 or 5 year mark post-COVID, where we're starting to need to refresh those devices. So I would like to commit these, the $1 million for the purposes of technology ongoing, and see fit that those are used. I think that the discussion of student devices is going to be a larger conversation, but for now we have a lot of staff devices that need immediate attention in those areas. So it would be my wish that we would commit these funds for Fund 17.
Okay, discussion, questions?
Go ahead.
Austin, a couple different things.
Yes, sir.
One is, do we have kind of a rough idea of how much we would need to invest if we did on a yearly basis? If we, like, what's the useful life now of a computer? Is it 3 years, 2 years?
Yeah, good question.
4 years?
So,
and then there's a hardware, and then there's the software part, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of one question. And then the other is, so anyhow, do you have any idea what that is?
Yeah. So this becomes simpler because a lot of times we will piggyback with other districts, right? Because if we all buy them together. So like in the past, we've piggybacked with Irvine Unified. So that way we get all of the Orange County buying power and Los Angeles buying power when we buy our devices. So we can try to get them on the cheaper. On the flip side, though, we don't really have as much flexibility on choosing the term. They kind of choose what term they would like, which they've decided is a 4-year term, which seems reasonable to me. Every 4 years, you refresh these devices. For staff devices, that cost is roughly about $150,000 a year. We have about 450 positions that would require higher end computers. Take this one, for example. This was what we'd classify as higher end. And that would be the same with, secretarial staff in the office. That'd be the same with administration, teachers. We give, higher end devices, MacBooks too. So it would be about $150,000 each year for a 4-year period. Student devices is much more. That cost is roughly about $600,000 a device if we were to go for all student devices.
Can I give a little color on that one, please? We've talked a lot about this because we had hoped to be able to do student devices the same as we're trying to do staff. But I think with our budget constraints, we've kind of talked about different alternatives. We've talked about bring your own device, BYOD, and really we need to have a larger conversation with stakeholders. And so that's being planned to create a technology strategic plan, frankly. And Annette is developing her team right now to help inform Brian, who will all participate in this strategic plan for technology, because we need to have a lot more conversation around what we should be doing moving forward. It's very easy to say, we're going to get a computer for everybody. We don't have the funds for it. And frankly, some kids may not want it. So we need to have a better conversation.
So that was part of what I wanted to dovetail into. But I want to go on the numbers. So $150 a year for staff, or $600,000 every 4, roughly. And then was that $600,000 for the students each year, or $600,000
each year?
each year.
Yes, sir.
So it's basically, it's 1 to 4 staff. So, which gets to the question. I know that when I was in business school, they had these old, it was a 286 processor.
Yeah.
Before you were born, Austin. Anyhow,
I didn't know they had computers back then.
But a lot of kids.
Did you have your buggy whip when you were using that computer?
I just want you guys to know that I was there when AutoCAD 1.0 started. It was a high-end version of Pong.
Don't admit that.
Hey, I've earned this. Yeah, so anyhow, but the question is, the programs that our kids are using on our computers. Let's say a kid wants to bring his iPad, right? Do we have a way to where the software part of what's on those computers can go on somebody's personal, like my grandson, he goes to school, he gets an iPad for Christmas, he wants to have his stuff on it, so he has one. What's that? It's
called Clever. It's called Clever. Austin, do you know enough about this to talk through it?
There's a lot of, this is why the technology not subcommittee, but the technology committee is being created, because there's also, there's a lot of things around privacy within schools, right? You have the, it's blanking on me right now, but you have the Child Internet Use Act. And so not being able to necessarily control what they're looking up in the classrooms if they were on their own device, and then also downloading different apps and programs from us to their own devices could be an issue. So all of that stuff we would need to look into, and that's why we kind of decided the best way to do this is to create a committee, because we want to make sure that those funds are being used appropriately, and then also making sure that we're following all related laws.
But there's a way, so through Clever, think of Clever as like a holding tank for a lot of different things that we can upload for a student. They log into it with whatever login we give them, and then they can access the stuff that we purchased. Did you use it before, Paul? Yeah. So there's ways to do it, but none of us are experts on it, so we probably are going to be really great at answering your questions.
Sure.
But that's why we need this strategic plan created.
And I want to make sure that this is clear. This commitment of funds, we're not committing it for student devices. This is mainly right now for staff. We're gonna most likely use this for.
So we're going then with the 150 a year over the next 4 years, or we're going to 600,000 total, and that's it at this point.
What I would like to commit to tonight. So what I would like to commit to tonight is committing that $1 million for the purposes of technology, because we clearly have a need. But moving forward, the only commitment I want to make right now is the 150,000 for this year for staff devices, because I know we have a significant amount of staff devices that need to be upgraded. But I also want to see where we're at when it comes to the larger scale of piggybacking, because there could be other options in terms of different devices that might be more suitable for our staff.
So just my last part of this.
Yeah, go ahead.
The computers that you get, so for example, you're doing a lot of financial calculations and stuff on your computer.
Yeah.
Your speed of your processor has to be greater because of the requirements of your software. The only thing that I would say is that as time goes on and you might need, your software changes, so you need to have a new processor that's even faster, that we wouldn't take that computer that you've had, let's say for 4 years, that computer at 4 years old still could probably go to somebody else who doesn't need the processing speed, and it would work just fine for them. So I know a lot of times we'll surplus things out based on its age.
Yeah.
Some of these things we may not want to surplus based on its age as much as based on its capacity. So like I know art and those kind of things, they are really heavy process driven, right?
Yeah.
So are the financial stuff. But there's other programs that aren't. So anyhow, just as we're looking to surplus things out, that we don't just go, because in our company, we rotate the computers. Our engineers always get the newest stuff, which makes everybody else mad, but they need it because the software just won't function on stuff that's even 2 years old sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's just more of a policy of just making sure that because we can get a lot of second and third lives out of a desktop, a laptop, depending on what sector it's going to be in. Just a thought. So
And then the technology committee, they're going to come up with a strategic plan for student devices?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So one follow-up on that. So I would support the $1 million repurposed for technology replacement, the commitment of the 150. Do you imagine the technology commitment will have some sorts of concrete suggestions by the time we get to budget time in May or June? So the extent that we need to look a little longer term, is that
Yes, sir.
reasonable?
I think it's reasonable.
I don't know, to be honest.
Okay,
I think that
and
we have.
I don't know is about what I know about technology, so that makes perfect sense to me.
I would say honestly, maybe probably not.
Okay.
If we have a really robust conversation and actually get input from stakeholders, I think it's going to be tough to hit that date.
Okay, and the 150 covers rolling into next school year in any event, right?
Yeah, yes, the 150 would cover going into next school year, correct?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I support this.
the 850 that's left over.
Yes, sir.
Are we going to invest that so that way we're getting some interest income on that along the way?
You know what's tough about that, Rich, is that falls back to the type of funds we can invest, and this fund is not one of them. And we wouldn't, we could potentially transfer it to a fund that we could invest, but I don't know if we'd be able to get it out. I'd have to do more research on that.
Could you, is this something that we need to do tonight?
No, you don't have to.
So we could approve the 150 to get that going. Could you do a little research on that? That's $50,000 of interest at just, 5%, which is what's in the banks.
Yeah.
Or 4.5, 5, something in that range.
Yeah.
That if we would, as a policy, we're earmarking that for that, but maybe we put it in a fund that can receive the interest versus it's just sitting there.
Yeah, we can look into that.
You could commit all million, and then you could decommit a certain portion if we have a space for it to
That's a
go.
good idea, too.
Because
That's a
then
better
it's
idea.
clean, and then if Austin comes back and says, oh, we cannot invest these funds, then you've already committed the million.
However you want to do it. I mean,
I think that's the cleanest way. It's one less step potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we take action today.
Take action
And then we
today,
can
but
always
if
take
he finds a way,
action.
you guys always have the power to commit funds.
That sounds
He just
good.
has to bring it back.
Okay, are we going to hear more about the committee?
You know what? I don't have any more information than I've had. I've asked for the development of the committee, and I think Annette might be the best person to talk about the committee, but I don't know if she's
Well, I
ready.
won't put her on the spot unless she wants to be put on the spot.
She loves the spot.
Oh, come to the spot.
It's really, she's putting together another committee that's going to help inform who's on
And
this.
Austin, I won't forget to vote once we hear about
Stephanie.
the committee.
So in the next probably 2 days or so, we'll be posting a extra time position. I'll be recruiting 1 to 3 teachers from every school site to sit on the Teaching and Learning Advisory Committee. We'll be meeting 5 times a year, and from that committee, on the first time we meet, we'll be developing our ed tech committee, and then that committee will get to work on what's needed.
So will the Ed Tech committee be a subcommittee?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Okay. Appreciate that. Okay, any other questions or discussion on this item?
so can someone reformulate what our motion is?
Our motion is to approve the
It's this.
resolution for the
It's
commitment
exactly
of
what he
funds.
requested.
No, I know. Oh, Bill, go ahead.
Okay, any public comment? Oh, we do have public comment. That's why we always ask.
The microphone's not working on air.
No, Austin turned it off when he saw me coming.
Oh.
I have a comment from our vice president. It's Hardy, Diane Hardy. That's the first thing. And the second thing, I do have a question. Fund 17 is what we're talking about here. The last I recall, it was committed for preschool, not pension.
No, Fund
clarify that for
17
me?
was pension. We had preschool in the general fund, Fund 01.
Thanks, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Emma. I'm a math teacher at the high school. And I just want to say we've been asking for new technology in the math department for a long time, 2.5 years, 2 years. So I'm excited. And there are at least 4 or 5, probably about half the math department who really needs new devices. So I hope you vote yes.
Thanks. All right. Do I have a motion for this resolution?
I'll move to approve, which one is it? 2025-18 as presented.
I second the motion.
Okay, and then we'll need a roll call vote.
Kylie Hernandez,
Yes.
Zoe Permankiewicz,
Yes.
Stephanie Amat,
Yes.
Bill Adams,
Yes.
Rich Carnation,
Yes.
Paul Cogorno,
Yes.
Malinali Lopez.
Absent. Okay, great. And then we're on to our last item of the evening. Get to end with Brian. We are going to discuss an update to the district graduation requirements to adopt ethnic studies, I think, and the transition the health course requirement to freshman seminar or ABIT 9.
Yes, so most of the graduation requirements are coming straight out of Ed Code. We approved the course for ethnic studies last time, and now this will make it a graduation requirement, which is part of Ed Code, but that will not go into effect until 2930. We will start offering the course next year, but it won't be a requirement until the graduating class of 2930. The part where I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to think about and talk about is, for years we've had a health requirement as part of the graduation. Prior to fires and COVID, it was 5 credits. They added a more of a social emotional component to it, and so we moved it from 5 credits to 10 credits, and then brought in a lot of content. And then last year, Principal Buckman had this idea of creating this freshman seminar program, which is 10 credits. And it's making that unique experience for their 9th graders. And so the idea is that we fade away from the traditional health course, move the sexual education portion of it, which is not taught necessarily by our teachers. We contract with Alliance Health, move that into the freshman seminar piece. And then what we're asking the board to do is to make a statement under additional requirements that says all freshmen must be enrolled in freshman seminar or AVID 9. And so when the parent says, I don't want my student to be in that course, we'll say, sorry, that is a board policy. If you're choosing Windsor High, you're choosing to be in a freshman seminar because it's that important.
Brian, would they... I agree that it's important. I think it's and we're getting all kinds of feedback that it's been super positive. Are you saying that some people wouldn't want their kids in it because of the sex ed component, or they just don't want them to take that class?
It's the 10 credit piece. It takes a spot on the schedule. And so some parents have expressed a desire to not have that on their schedule. And so but they're still required to take health at that portion. But once we move it, the sexual education, you can opt out of a portion of sexual education. You cannot opt out of all of sexual education. Okay. And that is a requirement that we have to offer sexual education.
So if we do this suggested and we move the sex ed to the freshman seminar, would the parents still have the option to be able to opt out of the portion that they're able to opt out now?
Yes. And that's part of Ed Code, that they have that right.
Okay. I'm good with it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would just like to ask a question, like, what is freshman seminar? I feel like I've heard of it, but I don't know the specifics of it.
We're going to be super jealous that you didn't have an opportunity to take it. So what we did was looking at the kind of that bridge between the 8th and the 9th grade year, and then moving in to the 10th grade year. If you guys remember, you're probably 9th and 10th graders were together. And the idea was the 10th graders were going to envelop the 9th graders and raise them up and make them, ready for high school. 9th graders have a lot of needs, and they really have a unique experience when they get to high school. And so the idea is that freshman seminar teaches students how to be good high school students, prepares them for thinking about what cores they want to participate in. It provides them with organizational skills. One of our best teachers is Diane Hardy, which I'm sure she'll be texting Austin very soon to say what a great program she does as well. So we were able to put super engaging teachers in those programs. It's not limited to any credential, so any teacher that has a passion for it can teach it. And then also, I don't want to skip that if for parents who want a different pathway, we do offer Avid 9 as an alternate.
Kylie, a lot of it was born out of our failure rate for our freshmen. We had a high failure rate, and so this was one of the different strategies to combat that.
I also have a question. I'm wondering, does it replace any other classes? My sister's taking it right now, and she says that she's not taking a history class. Did it, I guess, replace history?
So it replaced a spot that was called Global Studies. Global Studies was not a requirement. It was 10 credits of elective. And so when we unconnected the 910 cores, we didn't need to have that Global Studies course. And so, I mean, if anyone's doing the math, by reducing the health requirement, by reducing the Global Studies requirement, we shaved 20 credits off. We have students that are graduating with well over 220 credits. And so that often can drive up costs. And so what we're trying to do is make it so we're not putting roadblocks in the way to make it so students have to take like a course that's not necessarily required for graduation, like Global Studies. They can choose to take another elective. It was really interfering with our ability to take foreign language, fine arts too. So it's definitely was time for that change.
And then I have one more question.
Yes.
Sophomore year was when you were required to take health when I was a sophomore. And instead of taking health, I took AP Psych, and that covered my health credits. Are students aware that that's an option they can do as well? So say a freshman doesn't want to take freshman seminar, they take Avid, and then they can seek out those health credits through AP Psych?
Well, after this vote, they'll no longer need those health credits for graduation. Though we still encourage you to take AP Psych. It's a fantastic course.
I agree. Okay, that's all my questions.
First, I want to thank you for your grace and character tonight. Appreciate that. The sexual education, an element of the health class is in both Avid 9 and freshman seminar.
Correct.
Okay,
so Alliance Medical will come into every classroom.
For what you're aware of, are any of our other sister high schools in the county doing anything like a freshman seminar?
Healdsburg.
Are they? Okay.
And in Healdsburg, it is a graduation requirement. We're not asking that it is a graduation requirement just because what happens if you're not a ninth grader and you come in and transfer into our school, then it's like, well, how do you make up freshman seminar if you're 11th grader transferring in? Well, we're just asking that the requirement is that you have to be enrolled if you're a ninth grader at Windsor High School.
Okay. Any other questions? Public comment?
Good evening, Colleen Hunt. My son will be a freshman at the high school next year. He's at Windsor Middle. I'm very much in favor of this change, although I think health is important. My son really struggles with like executive function and needs the kind of support that the freshman seminar would provide for his long-term success to be a high school graduate. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. I also have a ninth grader this year, and I've found that freshman seminar is a really great class for him and just helping him adjust. It's a big adjustment going from middle school to high school. So I've really enjoyed the program myself. Okay, then we have public comments. Do we have motions for this action item?
Go ahead. You can.
Okay, I'll make a motion to pass this resolution.
This is not a resolution, but this is like the only one that's not a resolution. Oh, great. Oh, great. But it's an action item. Thank you, Kylie. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. And then student trustees first. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Rest of the board?
Aye. Aye.
And we have one absent. Okay, we have item 6.1, future board meeting items, if anyone wants to comment.
There's one that we're going to have to retroactively approve. There's field trip for wrestling. It's overnight, and it needed to happen now, but the request came in a little bit late. So I don't know who their coach is, but they didn't get their stuff done on time. So I approved them to go and said we would retroactively approve this at the next board meeting.
You need to pass it because they're at the Benicia Martinez Bridge right now waiting.
Instead of asking for you to add it, I just said we would bring it back retroactively next
Okay,
meeting.
so we'll bring it back
I approved
retroactively
it.
in March.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm in favor of that.
So on that topic, if we can, on the future, if we can fix this issue, and the issue is this, every sports team, every extracurricular program has a schedule. And on the schedule is the postseason events, if they're going to do it. There isn't a parent that doesn't have a kid in one of those programs that's going like, I don't know if I want them to go to the playoffs. So if we could fix our board policy to have, even if it's just one form, that the coach at the beginning of the season would say, here's our schedule, here's where it's going. Because the problem is, like in wrestling, for example, the current one for like field trips and all that stuff, it asks you all kinds of questions about money, this, that, and the rest, and everything else. But then it asks you, well, how many kids are going? Well, if we have to submit this technically a month in advance, we have no idea how many kids. I mean, like literally during this meeting, our heavyweight got added in. So now we have 13 that are in the event. And so things are very, very fluid. And I know that's just in our sport, and I'm sure every other sport that's an individual / team type, it's very fluid. So if we could do that sometime between now and the next start of school, have just a one-page deal that the parents would sign, or it's a line in the parents' permission form that the kids are allowed to go it. You guys know, that way the coaches then can say, hey, a perfect example. How many hotel rooms do we need to have in Union City? We have to guess of how many people are maybe going to make it, and then you're playing games back and forth with your reservation. It's a lot harder than you would think. That a field trip, you can gauge more or less with these sporting things. I mean, all of a sudden, wow, we made the football playoffs. We got to go to Stockton, right, or something like that. So if we could do that and work on it, and I'll try and talk to our athletic director and our vice principal at the high school in charge of athletics.
And Brian's overseeing policies, and I think he knows the athletic director. So I think that we'll look at the board policy, see how to simplify it.
And Brian knows how to simplify things.
Yes.
So, yeah.
You're only approving the distance, or you're approving the overnight. So I don't know that you need to approve the people. So
it just asks.
Yeah, maybe we can just look at that.
Just really simplify it on the extracurricular stuff that's sports oriented. Because if you're going on a field trip and those kind of things, there are questions and things in that permission slip or whatever that we as board people are going to want to know. But they don't really apply. So we could just make one that's more simplified for that specific purpose.
And if there's one more thing, Bill, just because it was brought up about the special education, special meeting.
Exactly.
What's difficult about what's being requested is the right to privacy of students. Mm-hmm. And our special education students have such unique situations that to have discussions in public would be very difficult to not out the student that we're talking about, especially with the students that have very significant needs and have been placed in non-public schools. So I have talked to President Ahmad about this, and I am struggling with how we have the conversation that's being requested because it's very individualized to each person. So I don't know how to satisfy that request without compromising the confidentiality of our kids.
Jay, I've given this a bit of thought, actually. I think we could have a general meeting talking about general policy, general concepts. But couldn't we have a closed session meeting with parent, guardian, or whatever about particular student? That might take, let's say we would, allocate half an hour with parent A about student A. Parent B, it might take us a little bit longer time. We may have to do something kind of sequentially. But even though they're individual, they're still going to have a lot of common.
They will not have common threads. I promise you, these are very individual decisions. There's no commonality with the decision making. It's specific to the child every single time.
Well, I've also been thinking, I know we've both been thinking about how do we structure this, and how do we make it something that's valuable and not just, you know, we have to be here for this amount of time. Like, how do we add value and make sure that it's, you know, we're doing good work during that time? I think we do have to do, we have to do something. So I think we just have to keep noodling on this a little bit and try to
Bring the parents in.
And I think, yeah, I think going over general policies and maybe talking a little bit about some of the changes that are being made for the coming year, although that's not really
That's not
the
for these
situation that we're
students,
talking
no.
about here.
We can talk about how decisions get made generally, but again, I don't know if that's what's been requested, but that's what we could provide, you know, the processes that we go through to make decisions. I just don't know if we're going to really scratch the itch that is being requested. And I don't know how to do it. So
What the first meeting's going to do, it's going to ferret out those issues where the parents have a concern. Let's meet, let's start and figure out, and then say, hey, that's something we can't talk about publicly because we got to keep the confidentiality. So we got to figure out how to work around that issue. And I'm sure there'll be others that we'll discover that we have to be sensitive to. And it's just the beginning of the process of how to work it out. But I don't want us to worry about that or other issues and keep going, well, how do we deal with that? Let's have a meeting and start identifying what our challenges are. We just start working our way through the process. And we might have some dead ends that we just can't get through. And where the law is, or certain things that's something we can't do at this particular time. So some parents might waive that confidentiality to have progress made in that regard. I don't know. But I mean, like in our family, we just kind of let it out. So we don't, but I know other people might want to keep things certain confidential. So I think if we have the meeting initially with the stakeholders, the parents, and then we bring these things up and we start talking about how are we going to navigate those things. I think a lot of the answers that you're looking for might come from the parents. I mean,
okay. I'm just telling you, I am usually very open to having these types of meetings. I think you all know that. I'm very hesitant to have this meeting because I think it puts us in a very awkward position talking about children who have a right to privacy. So I will try to put something together, and I very rarely push back on these types of things. I think you guys all know that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty concerned about this one, but we will try to put something together that I'm comfortable with, and I know that Deborah's comfortable with.
Okay. Well, we'll be really thoughtful about how we do it. I'm sure we'll figure out something.
Thank you.
So I don't want to drop this one yet. So when are we looking to do this? We can do it before spring break? We're running out of time. Are we going to do it after spring break?
I would need more time than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
My only point is I get that there's an itch that, got to be careful what we say now. There's requests that are beyond the scope of what we can and frankly, I think should hear as a board. I'm looking at Deborah who's like crawling out of her seat, but some of this almost sounds like, well, we'll get the parents in closed session and we'll have a group renegotiation of the IEP or something like that. That's stuff we can't do. We're the adjudicated body if the parents have a grievance or a claim or something. So I'd like to get the meeting set while we're working on it. I'd like to, before this month is out, okay, let's figure out a date that works. Get with 2 or 3 of the main stakeholders who've been here and some date in April or whenever, so we have that. And then we can at least start and see what we got. Understanding that their ask and our ability to respond will intersect on some areas and they're not in some others. And we're just going to have to figure out, I think some starting would be good though.
Understood.
Well, at least that way, for me, I want to know what the ask is. I want to know what the challenges from the parents' point of view. I mean, the 3-minute discussion doesn't work in this situation. So if we took a half an hour, 2 hours to have that discussion, find out what their concerns are, then because I don't know exactly what the concerns are.
I mean, I have a general idea, but I want to hear specifically from all those folks. So then that way we know, I mean, are we even heading down the right direction? So we have that initial meeting, find out what all those concerns are and the different things and strategies and solutions that people have thought about. And then figure out what our next steps can go from there. I think, the first meeting would be more of a scoping type of a discussion of why we even, you guys wanted to have a meeting, we're here, we want to hear and listen and learn and
I hear what you're saying,
make
like
sense?
that we shouldn't assume that we know.
Right.
That can be the first meeting or the meeting.
I think I have my direction. That's what I need.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on 6.1? Okay, then I'm gonna adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much for being here. Have a great night.
Oh, yeah. Can't provide them.
You guys,